Greetings, everyone. This evening, we embark on a journey through the steadfast resolve and relentless hardships of the Roman legion. The formidable force that claimed dominion over vast territories and gifted us with sandals, straight roads, and the intriguing practice of shouting in Latin while engaging in combat. Before you settle in, I invite you to take a moment to show your appreciation for the video and consider subscribing. But only if you truly find joy in the tales I share. Here, I'd love to hear from you in the comments about where you're tuning in from and what time it is on your end. It's always intriguing to discover the diverse places our audience comes from across the globe. Now, let us lower the lights, perhaps activate a fan to create a gentle backdrop of sound. And together, we shall embark on tonight's adventure. So you believe you could thrive in the Roman legion? How charming, really? Much like a little kitten attempting to navigate the complexities of tax filing? Before you could even envision the glory of battle, you first had to navigate the trials of recruitment, Rome's own spectacle of skill. Yet the only measure of talent they sought was simple. Could this man haul a small mule uphill while bleeding? First, introduce yourself to the recruiter, with the shirt cast aside. The chest stands proud, and aspirations soar to the heavens. Ah, the one who seeks out talent. He has encountered countless chests, yet none have captured his interest. Inspects your teeth, not to praise your grin, but to ensure you can gnaw through tough bread without peril. Do you have flat feet? Denied. Wings of a fowl? Denied. Apparent dread of aggression? Charming. Once again, the answer was no. Stature held significance. Endurance was essential. Possessing a visage that didn't plead "spare me from harm," a grand reward awaits. Once you successfully navigated the inspection, you were deemed fit, a status in Roman times that suggested you were not on the brink of demise. Indeed, an oath was required of you, not to the heart of Rome, but to your stern commanding officer, who likely hadn't cracked a smile since the last crucifixion. This vow was embraced with utmost gravity. If you were the one who broke it, you wouldn't face any consequences. You faced the whip, the blade, or utter destruction, a term that may evoke images of epic combat, yet it truly signifies the grim reality of your own comrades turning against you in a brutal display of team spirit. Are you still here? Excellent. Now inscribe your name, exchange your youthful days for a tunic. Embrace yourself for the next quarter century filled with aching backs, the toil of trench digging, and the relentless bellowing of men sporting. Impressively oiled, muscus, they referred to this as a privilege. Roman citizens gathered in anticipation. A few were filled with anticipation. They spoke of adventure. They spoke of glory. Many of them faltered before they could conquer their second sandal blister, and don't assume that citizenship simplified things. Indeed, it rendered it obligatory. If you find yourself in the unfortunate blend of being both impoverished and Roman, well, consider yourself acknowledged. The legion was both your destiny and your confidant. Indeed, even if you were not of Roman descent, the opportunity to join was still open to you. They labeled you as an extra, offered you a pittance, and threw you into the fray like a trembling morsel of flesh. And that's merely the beginning of the journey. Ah, you've successfully navigated the trials of recruitment. Welcome to the journey, hooray! And so, the adventure truly unfolds. The deliberate obliteration of who you are. Cast aside your identity. You have transcended the identities of Gaius, Titus, or the one with the impressive physique. You are now just Miles, a name that evokes the essence of a soldier. Or perhaps more fittingly, a wandering shovel burdened by anxiety. Your fresh persona was shrouded in leather bindings, adorned with brass accents, and carried the lingering aroma of whatever perished in your footwear the previous week. What tale does your haircut tell? Classic tale of woe shaped like a bowl. What about your attire? One size fits no one. All were clad alike, moved in unison, and shared the same crimson essence. Do you wish to share your thoughts and feelings? Wonderful. Consider communicating through Morse code by blinking during the inspection. The legion was not one to concern itself with the whims of fashion. It brought a sense of harmony. And there you were, surrounded by 50 sweaty men in identical tunics, all sharing in the same wretchedness and blending into one another like shadows in the dim light. To stand apart was to invite danger. There was an air of suspicion surrounding uniqueness. Should you smile too often, the centurion could very well suspect you of scheming something in the shadows. Or, heaven forbid, finding joy in the moment. Found yourself nestled in a tent alongside 7 fellow soldiers, all huddled together like layers of overcooked lasagna. Each one pressed against the next in a cozy, chaotic embrace. When one person let out a snore, the entire room felt the ripple of disturbance. When a single fart echoed through the air, it prompted a collective moment of reflection on the choices that led you to that very moment. And regarding your gear, it was never a matter of choice. The gladius, a short stabbing sword, the scutum, a giant shield, and the pilum, a throwing spear, were not mere suggestions. You took them with you on every journey, alongside your trusty cooking pot. Pickaxe, a pair of spare sandals, and the last flickers of your enthusiasm. What do you do in your moments of leisure? Are you referring to the 2 hours spent toiling in the dirt and then keeping watch under the pouring rain? Absolutely. Employ it with great care. Perhaps polish your armor to a brilliant gleam, or weep softly into your vinegar water. Discipline was woven into the very fabric of existence. It was almost a sacred belief. When a single individual faltered, the entire group faced the consequences. This forged what the Romans referred to as cohesion, a concept that contemporary therapists now recognize as shared trauma. Do you wish to share your thoughts freely? How charming. Hold your tongue unless you relish the thought of sprinting in heavy armor while your centurion hurls Latin jibes about your lineage. You had transcended the bounds of mere manhood. You were a vital part of Rome's relentless war engine, an engine that allowed no room for decay, doubt, or extravagance, particularly style. When they finished molding you, even your own mother might struggle to see the familiar face she once knew, though she would likely still inquire about the peculiar scent of your tunic, reminiscent of feet. Yes, the centurion, your guiding force, mentor of aspirations, enforcer of rules, an occasional stormy presence. Prepare yourself for the rugged journey ahead, where you'll encounter a man forged from grit, marked by scars, and defined by his thunderous voice. The centurion was more than a mere superior. He embodied the essence of your spiritual turmoil, taking on a human guise in his 30s or 40s. He was already considered a seasoned survivor, having navigated the trials of life long enough to be halfway to the revered status of sainthood in Roman times. He carried the marks of each conflict he had ever endured, and it was likely that he adorned himself with at least one ear as a trophy. What of his armor? Shinier than the dreams that lie ahead, his fiery spirit, on edge, particularly when a sneeze broke the silence during formation. The centurion didn't merely train you. He dismantled you and reconstructed you into a version of yourself that was just a touch more compliant. His voice would resonate louder than the whispers of your own mind, what he cherished most in his free time. Shouting your complete name, accompanied by directives you had no desire to obey, such as to excavate more swiftly, stride with greater intensity, or cease your struggle for life. He wielded a vine staff called the vitus, a name that dances with elegance until you uncover its true purpose, to strike down foes. He swung it with the fervor of one grappling with the shadows of a turbulent past. Challenge his commands? One might find themselves scrubbing latrines with a toothbrush if such a tool were to exist. Defy, the spectacle of public punishment. Take it easy. In a twist of fate, your provisions would inexplicably vanish into thin air. Could you share a funny quip? He'd have you excavate a pit, entomb your laughter within, and then cover it? All up once more. Yet one must acknowledge the undeniable prowess of the centurions, who were nothing short of fearsome in their capabilities. They charged into the fray, the first to embrace peril, and the last to withdraw. In the midst of a grim battlefield, if you found yourself bleeding out in the mud, your centurion would either haul you to safety with unwavering determination or unleash a torrent of words that would ignite a fire within you, compelling you to rise again, driven by a sense of guilt, For him, discipline held a revered status, weakness spread like a plague, and comfort was reserved for the uncivilized and the dreamers, though love may have eluded your heart for the centurion. Fear and respect took root within you, likely giving rise to restless nights filled with visions of his sandals thundering ever closer. In essence, he was the one in charge, a source of dread and the sole chance you had to endure until the next round of reprimands awaited you on the morrow. Ah, you've navigated the tempest of raised voices, the fervent oaths, and the quiet stripping, a way of essence. Welcome to camp life, where the Roman legion transforms the concept of a five-star getaway into an experience filled with dirt, sweat, and the delightful serenade of a fellow soldier snoring right into your eye socket. To begin with, it's important to understand that the concept of free time is a myth. In the grand tapestry of life, if you're not marching forward or engaging in battle, you're likely to be digging deep. And if you find yourself not digging, then take a moment to celebrate, for you are constructing something that, in time, will surely require excavation once more in the midst of the landscape. There lay a trench, flanked by a sturdy rampart, encircled by a formidable wall, bordered by a deep ditch, and yet another trench beyond. The Romans had a fascination with earthworks, perhaps sensing that future storytellers would require more than just discussions of toga colors to engage their audiences. Your day commenced at the break of dawn, jolted awake by a horn that echoed the demise of hope. With purpose, you adorned yourself in a tunic, slipped on your sandals, donned your armor, and made your way to report for duty. You arrived without a formal greeting, relying on luck to avoid the sharp end of Viti's stick. Then came the drills, a relentless series of exercises, marching in formation, turning with precision, and thrusting at straw dummies with all the fervor of someone tackling a tedious task with a blade. Each movement demanded precision, for careless formations could lead to death or, even more perilously, draw the attention of the centurion. Following that, the building began. Each night, the camp required fortification, a ritual of vigilance and preparation. Indeed, even in the midst of a simple snack break, you and your fellow trench gremlins would seize your shovels and plunge into the earth with a fervor that suggested your very existence hinged on it, for it truly did. Feasts. Imagine a scene where barley porridge embodies the essence of sorrow, accompanied by a cheese that seems to take offense at your very being, and sour wine thinned with water as hydration becomes a rare treasure and flavor fades into mere illusion. Restrooms. In the realm of shared experiences, there lie communal trenches, adorned with sponges on sticks, and that, dear listener, is where the tale pauses. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the hours were filled with the careful tending of gear, the meticulous cleaning of weapons, the gentle mending of sandals, and the quiet struggle to hold back tears, ensuring no one bore witness to the vulnerability beneath the surface. Perhaps fortune smiled upon you, granting a chance to roll the dice with your companions before surrendering to slumber on a straw mattress. It sent oddly reminiscent of the previous occupant. There was no such thing as privacy. There was no trace of comfort to be found. Yet the blisters. Ah, the blisters were plentiful indeed. This was not a moment of idleness. The moment was simply not suited for marching. And even then, one had to prepare for the centurion's voice resonating through the camp like a mighty thunderclap. Is that what you dare to call a tent? Should you believe that joining the Roman legion was all about valiant clashes and grand oratory, think again. It primarily signified a journey of steps forward. It's a great deal of it. So much, in fact, that by the end of your service, your feet would have developed their own thoughts, and none of them would be kind. Picture a Roman legionary, steadfast and resolute, marching 20 to 30 kilometers each day, often clad in full gear that weighed around 90 pounds, an impressive burden that tested the very limits of endurance and spirit. Among your possessions were your sturdy armor, a shield that gleamed in the light, sword ready for battle, 2 spears for precision, a cloak to shield you from the elements, cooking gear for sustenance, rations to keep your strength tent, poles for shelter, and the weight of your emotional baggage from home. This was known as the mule load, and you were the one carrying the weight. The rhythm was relentless. The journey was far from a leisurely walk through the rolling hills. It moved with a swift cadence, a relentless pulse that sought to eliminate anyone bold enough to have knees. With each passing mile, a hapless traveler would stumble, lag behind, or abruptly recall the absence of a senator's lineage in their birthright. There were indeed pauses, in a manner of speaking. Brief tales, just the right amount of time to take a swig of water, swallow a handful of barley mush, and ponder the choices that led you here. Then it was back to marching along the Roman roads, renowned for their unwavering straightness, a testament to the belief that turning was an act reserved for the timid and the thinkers. Indeed, it was anticipated that you would construct a fortified camp at the conclusion of each day's journey. Indeed, march through the day. Then plunge into the labor of digging, hammering, and sweating as you embark on a construction project, reminiscent of an intense military-themed home renovation adventure. Yet there were no accolades to be earned, and the sole spectator was your centurion, observing you in silence with his arms folded across his chest. Ah, blisters, those unwelcome companions that often appear when we least expect them. They tell a tale of friction and discomfort, a reminder of our adventures and the paths we tread. Each one carries a story of its own, a testament to the journeys we embark upon. Ordinary. Have you ever experienced the mystery of lost toenails? Nearly a journey of transformation, fellow travelers drifting into slumber as we tread our path. Remarkably common. Should you stumble, a reprimand would surely follow. Should you express discontent, mockery would surely follow. To feign an injury, the medic would swiftly administer a sponge slap and promptly send you on your way. Yet, the Romans remained silent in their discontent, not due to their stoicism, but rather because they were simply too breathless. Whining demands a certain vigor, and all of yours was devoted to preventing a face-first plunge into the gravel. Ah, if you found yourself among the ranks of the legion, yearning for the sweet taste of glory, be prepared for a journey filled with endless strides toward the elusive triumph. All the while hoping it hasn't slipped away before your arrival. Well, done. After marching for hours with a backpack heavier than your dignity, you've truly earned the right to prepare for the challenge that may very well be your undoing. In the heart of the Roman legion, where aspirations of grandeur met their fate, combat training unfolded like a grim tale. Here, under the watchful eye of a stern figure wielding a stick,
Oh, God.
dreams were tempered in a carefully managed arena, where glory often slipped away into the shadows. The initial revelation, your cherished gladius, that compact, stout blade you envisioned brandishing with flair like a cinematic champion, was not intended for slicing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You plunged it into the gentle, yielding spaces. The groin, you say? Chosen focus? Ah, the armpit, a curious part of our anatomy that often goes unnoticed, yet plays a role in our daily lives. Delightful. What about the neck? A masterpiece of flavor and artistry. What is the reason behind this? For the reason that stabbing demanded less exertion, resulted in swifter fatalities, and spared your sword from becoming lodged in a rib cage like an inexperienced fighter. Ancient Romans had a knack for practicality. Chill, precise, and thoroughly unenthused by embellishments. You engaged in the art of thrusting at wooden dummies, known as pile, mere logs masquerading as fierce barbarians, and you plunged your weapon into them time and again. And so it ends, and thus it concludes. Until your shoulders ached, your palms bled. Your centurion whispered something about your unfortunate wrist technique, and so began the shield drills. The scutum loomed large, akin to a mobile fortress. And it was your duty to wield it as such deflecting blows, striking fiercely and creating formidable shield formations. It began as a delightful romp, filled with laughter and joy, until the moment a corner met a nose, leading to an unexpected tumble into the muddy embrace of the earth. Fierce encounters in the ring. Ah, indeed, you clashed with your fellow recruits wielding wooden swords. channeling all the pent-up frustration of someone who had been deprived of privacy for weeks on end. Injuries were a frequent companion, while teeth were merely a suggestion. And if you found yourself on the ground, your prize was a wise discourse on how true adversaries won't pause for you to regain your footing, dear one. Ah, the pilum, remarkable creation of the Romans. This throwing spear was not just a weapon, but a cunning piece of craftsmanship. Designed to bend upon impact, it ensured that once hurled, it could never be returned to its sender by the enemy. A clever little stick indeed, embodying the ingenuity of its makers. In essence, it had a singular purpose, to pierce once and then fade away, much like the dreams you hold close. And keep in mind, all of this unfolded while donning full gear, enduring the sweltering heat. With scarce water and an abundance of shouting, each day was a relentless pursuit of strength. For the horizon promised a journey to Gaul, Dacia, or another land where the warm welcome of the locals came with a sharp edge. At long last, after the relentless marching, the perilous logs, and the sharp jabs from your centurion's piercing gaze, the awaited day has come. The moment you step into the fray for the very first time, your nerves frayed, your legs trembling, your undergarments in disarray. Let us steer clear of that topic. Before us, the foe looms on the distant expanse of the battlefield. Perhaps it's a band of wild-haired Gauls, howling as if they've just encountered a rogue Lego piece, or Dacians wielding their curved swords, driven by a fierce grudge against helmets. In any case, they strike a fearsome presence. They carry the scent of goats, and in an amusing turn of fate, they harbor a deep disdain for you. The centurion's whistle pierces the air. You're called to align flawlessly, gripping your shield as if your very existence hinges on it, and to move forward as though you're not wrestling with the thought of whether you've finalized your last rites. The creation. Behold the testudo. A creature of resilience, often known as the tortoise. Defenses encircle, protections loom above. Its purpose is to shield you from arrows. Indeed, it unfolds. For the most part, it transforms you and your friends into a colossal, clattering metal creation, one that drips with perspiration. Arrows cascade from the sky. The sound of thuds reverberates against shields, mingled with yells, and the sporadic scream that whispers, "Oops, not quick enough." With each careful shuffle, you press onward, invoking the names of every deity that comes to mind, even those you might have conjured in this moment of need. Next, a connection. Amidst the tumult, voices rose in a cacophony, a symphony of discord and strife. Your training begins to awaken, in a way. With a swift thrust of your gladius, you seek the vulnerable gaps in the armor. All the while evading the peril of a blade aimed at your face, the fellow beside you tumbles down. There's no moment to pause, to grieve, to even catch your breath. The atmosphere is heavy with dust and blood, and a dawning realization settles in that this is far removed from the training dummy. The adversary's shouts are a cacophony of unfamiliar words. Yet their intent resonates unmistakably. They've come with a purpose, not for discussions. Your centurion surges forward, smashing through the chaos with the force of a tempest. His voice cutting through the din as he commands, "Maintain the formation." How ironic, given that you're presently focused on avoiding dismemberment, after what seems like an eternity. The horn sounds once more. Withdrawal, proceed. In this moment, you find yourself breathing, a pulse of life coursing through you. A reality that seemed uncertain just moments ago. As you weave your way back into the fold, battered, weary, carrying the weight of your experiences, a singular truth dawns upon you. Tomorrow, the journey begins anew. So you've emerged victorious from your inaugural clash. Well done, you. Managed to avoid being decapitated, trampled, or mistaken for a javelin target. In this moment, you might be basking in a sense of invincibility, and it's quite charming to witness. For within the ranks of the Roman legion, true peril emerges once the clash of swords has faded into silence. Let us begin with the tales of wounds. If you've experienced a stab, a slice, or a gentle impalement, well done to you. Prepare To delve into the intriguing world of Roman field medicine, a curious blend of robust wine, fervent prayers, and a fellow named Lucius, who upon glimpsing a bone, boldly declared himself a surgeon. Should fortune smile upon you, your injury might be but a mere surface scrape, your healer clear-headed, and the searing iron kept free from the muck before it meets your flesh. If that's the case, let's just say you might find yourself with a new moniker, Lefty. Then there were the diseases, which danced through the narrative, merely lurking in the shadows but reveling as eager players in the legion's tale. Dysentery held a special place in the tales told around the fire. It swept through the camp like a whispered secret, and before long half the cohort was racing to the latrines, while the other half lay moaning in a pool of remorse. Hygiene and cleanliness. In a sense, it was indeed there. Communal sponges circulated among the guests like delightful tokens, and the notion of germs was lost on everyone, likely due to their preoccupation with the consequences of such ignorance. Malaria, typhoid, infected blisters, trench foot, and an unsettling growth on your tentmate's leg. Every element weaves into the tapestry of the journey. There existed no days of rest for the weary. We'll keep marching until you can go no further. And then we'll have our conversation. And we mustn't overlook the fascinating world of parasites. Worms, lice, fleas. Your body resembled a vibrant ecosystem, teeming with life rather than a mere temple. Imagine, if you will, a scenario where a fever grips you, or your arm takes on a curious shade of purple, or perhaps your toenail decides it wishes to break free from its home on your foot. One would find themselves at the Valetudinarium, the esteemed hospital of the Legion. It has a certain charm, doesn't it? It was primarily a scene filled with beds, soft sounds of distress, and a man preparing the blade with a flicker of heat. And if your condition didn't show signs of improvement within 3 days, it was as if you had transcended illness altogether. You were a burden, destined to be silently discarded in the shadows, making way for the next hopeful soul. Oblivious to the mystery of that rash, imagine a scenario where you lost track of time, where your weapon slipped from your grasp, or, in a moment of sheer misfortune, you dared to blink while standing in formation. And then, what unfolds next? Struggle. What unfolds is suffering. The Roman legion thrived on discipline, much like taverns flourished on wine and questionable choices. Each decree carried its consequence. Each consequence carried with it a touch of shame. And what of your centurion? He thrived on it. One might think he devoted more time to honing his death stare than he ever did to mastering the sword. Is this your initial transgression? Perhaps a public display of punishment? Imagine a spirited gathering among comrades, where the atmosphere crackles with intensity, akin to a fierce bonding ritual. The lashes arrived accompanied by a vine stick, a curious implement that left marks, reminiscent of one's dignity. Imagine the scene. A sentinel, eyes heavy with the weight of the night, succumbs to the gentle embrace of slumber while duty calls. What tales might unfold in the shadows of that moment? That was no mere tap on the wrist. That was the end of a journey, indeed the act of execution itself. The Romans believed that if one was weary enough to doze off while on guard duty, they were likely to fatigue to care about the threat of being attacked. Yet the most remarkable aspect of Roman punishment was the fabled decimation. Imagine a scenario where your group withdrew at a time that was unexpected. Perhaps you fled in terror from the fray rather than meeting a noble end like a true champion. What shall be the consequence? The unit was split into groups of 10, and each group was tasked with drawing lots. The one who draws the short straw, overpowered and met with a brutal end by the other 9. Indeed, you heard correctly, your friends overwhelmed you completely with gatherings, for the simple reason that you outpaced the fellow beside you, just a touch quicker. Even the slightest transgressions were regarded as if they were grave violations of humanity. Cast aside your helmet, sprint in circles, taunt your centurion, excavate a trench, then refill it, only to excavate once more until either you collapse or his interest wanes. And if you had the audacity to voice your discontent, what a moment! You'd find yourself on latrine duty in the blink of an eye, your sandals barely grazing the earth beneath you. Imagine hauling buckets filled with the weight of unfulfilled dreams, all while being observed by a man whose smile vanished with the collapse of the Republic. What brings about such severity? Complicated. In the minds of the Romans, fear was the thread that wove together the fabric of unity. A legion trembled before its centurion, more so than the foe that lay beyond, and in a twist of fate it all came together. Welcome to the Castra, a place where your journey begins. Imagine a summer camp where the sweet scent of marshmallows is replaced by the bitter taste of gruel, where the joy of friendship bracelets gives way to calluses and an ever-present shadow of doom looms overhead. Your tent, crafted from leather and hope, shelters 8 grown men armed with swords, sporting blisters, and navigating wildly mismatched sleep schedules. The aroma itself serves as a strategic force. Should you ever envision Roman legionaries as shining embodiments of order, a single night within this tent will alter that perception. Ah, the bed. There is none to be found. You nestle on the earth, embracing your shield as if it were a forlorn Roman companion, a silent guardian in the silent night. And what if the skies open up and the rain begins to fall? Alas, it seems your tent has succumbed to the elements, and now lets the rain dance upon your belongings. For what could embody the essence of imperial splendor more than rising from slumber? Drenched and nestled beside a figure named Gaius. But let us not forget the culinary delights. In the realm of the Roman soldier, the daily fare unfolded like a tale of resilience, a comforting loop of barley porridge, hardtack, and yet more. Barley porridge, all flavored with the whims of the day, be it dirt, bugs, or the weight of unspoken shame. From time to time, when the deity smiled upon you, or a wayward chicken stumbled into your midst, a taste of meat might grace your meal. Yet, more often than not, it was merely the tough bread and the tart wine that served a dual purpose as both refreshment and cleanser. One might imagine that meal breaks offer a moment to unwind. Incorrect. One had to take on the culinary challenge personally, gathering around a shared flame, wielding an iron pot that perhaps hadn't known the touch of soap since the days of Augustus. What if the food got burned? The tables have turned on you. In a way, it feels more fitting that this is how it unfolds. Daily chores unfolded like an exhilarating adventure. Sharpening blades, mending pathways, excavating trenches, erecting barriers, transporting provisions, in essence, engaging in every task imaginable, except for taking a moment to unwind. And what could be more delightful? After a long day of marching, enduring relentless training until your legs could bear no more, and steering clear of the peculiar fungus that your tent mate picked up last week, you accomplished all of this as the sun dipped below the horizon. The evenings transformed into a sacred time for the art of reading scrolls, a ritual of discovery and reflection. Indeed, they were meant for the watch, for games of chance that often escalated into brawls, and for the rare minstrel whose flute sang the most melancholic of tunes. And let us not overlook the centurion's evening inspection, where his piercing gaze would scrutinize your armor as if it had personally offended him. Yet, there were those who developed a deep affection for it. In the midst of despair, there was a pulse, a bond forged through collective anguish, shared trials, and the light-hearted teasing of the newcomer who dared to cleanse himself with cold vinegar. For weeks, you've held on to the notion that you are the champion of civilization, the embodiment of order, the figure in sandals positioned firmly on the right side of history. Ah, what a delightful twist. The adversary remained blissfully unaware of the unfolding narrative. In their eyes, you wear no cape. You are an intruder, a clad figure of authority wielding a sharp implement. With an unexpected arrival, you set ablaze the fields, cast aspersions on their deities, and insist on tribute, all while proclaiming it's for a noble cause. In some way, their excitement seems to be lacking. Consider, if you will, the Gauls. To the Romans, they appeared as wild folk, marked by their dubious cleanliness and extravagant facial hair. Yet to the Gauls, you were that bothersome empire that appeared every few decades, promising liberation only to ensnare them into slavery or the clutches of the Germanic tribes in a time devoid of grand highways or elegant garments. They wielded axes with a fierce conviction that death was an inevitable companion on their journey. They beheld your gleaming armor and synchronized maneuvers, and in response, unleashed a torrent of bear pelts, primal howls, and a ferocity in combat that caused even the most battle-hardened warriors to question their paths in life. Let us not overlook the Parthians, masters of the steed, who excelled in the art of shooting arrows while retreating at full gallop, a tactic that the Romans deemed both cowardly and unjust. Primarily because it proved so effective, your adversaries were not merely battling for their existence, they battled for retribution. Your brothers, sons, and livestock were seized the last time you passed through, and they've spent years honing their weapons and nurturing their resentments. They clashed without regard for order, abandoning any semblance of traditional combat decorum. They lurked in the shadows of the forests, launching surprise attacks on supply wagons and striking when you least expected it. Even when you were merely seeking a moment of privacy behind a tree, amidst the chaos where fury reigned, and the earth was a quagmire, deep-seated longing stirred within Mia, yearning to witness your undoing in the most visceral way, and if you found yourself in captivity, it would be wise to steer clear of such thoughts. Let's just say the adversary wasn't consulting the rules of engagement. One might find themselves showcased like a prized possession, compelled to unearth their own resting place, or offered up to a deity adorned with an excess of antlers. As you envisioned your foes as wild and untamed, they beheld you as the very embodiment of a nightmare, a relentless force of tyranny, hubris, and those incessantly grating marching tunes. It appears that the narrative of history is shaped by the perspective of its chronicler. After a quarter of a century filled with marching, bleeding, sweating, and somehow avoiding the Grim Reaper, which seems to be the ultimate badge of honor, you finally arrive at the golden years of retirement. Or as the Romans might say, "Behold the one who has evaded the dagger's thrust. Let us embark on a grand journey, the quest for land." Rome offered its brave veterans a charming little plot of land nestled on the edge of the frontier, a tranquil patch of earth where one could cultivate olives, lament the ways of the younger generation, and enjoy the serenity without the threat of a javelin flying through the air. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Yet that land lay within unfriendly borders, encircled by locals who still recall the flames that consumed their uncle's village. Ah, the golden years, a time that may surprise you with unexpected twists and turns. Envision it as a leisurely chapter of life, infused with a touch of vitality. Next, we delve into the realm of pensions, or perhaps the allure of premia, a bountiful reward, provided that Rome possessed the funds and your commander had the foresight to complete the necessary paperwork before meeting an untimely end in a murky swamp. If not, you may find yourself compensated with IOUs, fragments of pottery, or perhaps a resolute handshake, accompanied by the notion that glory stands as its own reward. Some veterans transition their expertise into the private sector, finding themselves as hired muscle for corrupt governors. Others took on the role of mentors, guiding new recruits with the same affection and care they once experienced in their own journey. Yet many seemed to simply fade away into the background. The body lay in ruins, marked by countless scars, while the haunting echoes of battle drums and the wails of ghastly spirits lingered, never fully fading into the shadows of memory. One could easily recognize a retired soldier by his distinctive limp, the way his eyes narrowed against the distant horizon, and the instinctual act of digging a protective trench around his cherished vegetable patch. And in terms of social interactions, a collection of varied experiences. In certain realms, you commanded respect, a living testament to the might of Rome. In some, you were the grumpy elder grumbling about the importance of orderliness at the marketplace. But lo and behold, you were among the living, that places you in a position of advantage over many. You had triumphed over innumerable skirmishes, ailments, imposing centurions, and the most critical of footwear. What comes next? Imagine raising your voice to your grandchildren in the ancient tongue of Latin, while skillfully carving a gladius from a sturdy piece of wood. life in the Roman legion was steeped in a profound sense of inevitability, particularly when it came to the specter of death. And when you find yourself perpetually gazing into the abyss of mortality, you cultivate a profound spiritual existence, or perhaps a deeply anxious one. The typical legionary held reverence for a multitude of deities, akin to the vastness of an entire Olympic stadium filled with divine figures. Jupiter reigned supreme with thunder and authority, while Mars stood ready for the chaos of war. And then there was Fortuna, the ever-watchful guardian, ensuring that when the moment came, the javelin wouldn't just ricochet off a helmet, sparing your closest companion from yet another mishap. Yet, the essence of Roman religion transcended mere worship. It was a tale of overseeing the universe, one delicate ceremony at a time. Before stepping onto the battlefield, you offered up a sacrifice, often a creature soft and unfortunate to the whims of fate. If the priest examined its liver and declared, "Indeed, that's a fine spleen," then you could count yourself fortunate, for the gods were likely favoring you. Perhaps legionaries were accompanied by their own guardians from the divine realm. The brilliance of the legion manifested in a figure akin to a celestial mascot, dwelling not in a playful foam suit but within a diminutive shrine. Ever watchful and assessing each step you took, naturally, the shadows of belief wove their way into the unknown. But would you truly risk the chaos of donning your left sandal before the right? Such an act could unravel the very fabric of your day. One would never choose to hone their blade on a day shrouded in ill tidings. Should a raven caw while you tend to your armor, it would be wise to prepare your own resting place and mark it as claimed. Dreams held great significance. To dream of fire signifies victory. To dream of rats signifies a looming sense of betrayal. 2. Dream of your centurion smiling signifies that you have crossed the threshold into the unknown, yet remain blissfully unaware of your new reality. And beware, for once the topic of omens arises, the tales will flow endlessly. Birds soaring in the opposite direction, thunder rumbling at an unexpected hour, a series of 3 sneezes echoing through the air. It's a whisper of mischief, hinting that Jupiter was restless and ready to stir the pot. Did all this unwavering commitment ensure safety? Absolutely not. Yet it eased the fear of death just a bit, if one held the belief that Mars had given a nod to the severing of one's visage. For many, the conviction that the divine was ever present ignited a spark of bravery within them. For some, it merely provided another excuse to perpetually glance back, wary of what might lurk behind them. In the Roman legion, even the gods themselves were not exempt from the tally of lives taken. Glory was never part of your journey. You joined the ranks lured by the promise of sustenance, riches, and the faint glimmer of hope against hunger's grasp. But once you stepped inside, oh my, you became a vital part of the grand tapestry of Roman glory. Should you emerge from the fray, do not anticipate accolades or a ceremonial garment to mark your valor. Instead, you were met with a speech, often bellowed from a makeshift platform by a general who had only ever brushed the earth with his sandals once. As he stumbled into his bathhouse, he would roar with tales of valor and honor, proclaiming the eternal greatness of Rome, while you fought to keep your stomach settled amidst the blood loss and the sweltering heat. Your part in this tale was to offer encouragement, acknowledge the moment, and certainly avoid bringing up the fact that your closest companion had his head swapped out for a spear just moments into the adventure. But in Rome, the tale unfolds differently. In that moment, you became a legend, woven into the fabric of tales spun by others. Politicians reveled in the spectacle of your struggles, weaving them into the narrative of their victories. Grand mosaics were commissioned, majestic triumph arches rose to the sky, and exquisite statues were sculpted, yet seldom did they bear your name. Perhaps, just perhaps, your name would find its way into a tale if you accomplished something remarkable, like single-handedly defending a bridge or meeting your end in a manner steeped in poetry. Yet it's far more probable that you'd find yourself among the valiant souls who lay down their lives, nestled between a noble steed and a humble supply crate. In the midst of it all, senators clad in shades of purple savored their wine, weaving tales of how their distant relatives held sway over your unit. And so you found your place within the tale, a subtle whisper in the branches of another's lineage. And what of the audience? They cherished tales of Roman triumphs, particularly when woven by poets who had never set foot on a battlefield too. Them, your 3-day struggle in the mud, was a captivating saga of Roman strength. They omitted the dysentery, the cries of anguish, and the moment when your comrade, driven by desperation, attempted to consume a belt. Indeed, you achieved greatness, yet it was not for your own sake. It was for the Republic, for the Empire, for the affluent individual whose name would be etched in stone, while yours faded into obscurity by midday, yet within it lay a certain nobility, a form of tragic immortality where one might perish as a mere number, but the essence of Rome would endure through the ages. In the mid-13th century, Venice stood as a grand stage where only the boldest dreams dared to take flight. The canals whispered with the lively exchanges of traders, the melodic clink of coins, and the alluring aroma of exotic spices wafting in from distant, mysterious ports in a vibrant republic thriving on trade. Marco Polo emerged in 1254, seamlessly woven into the fabric of its merchant class, as natural as a duck gliding through water. Yet, in a twist of fate, Marco was not like the other ducks. His journey led him across vast deserts. His father, Niccolo Polo, and Uncle Maffio were not just ordinary merchants. They were adventurers of the trade world. They didn't barter baubles in the plaza or negotiate with the neighborhood fish vendor. They were wanderers cloaked in elegant silk, men who had already slipped away to the east long before Marco found his voice. When they made their way back to Venice in 1269, the boy had transformed into a curious young man, his wide eyes filled with questions that could weigh down even the sturdiest vessel. When Marco finally encountered his father once more, the reunion was devoid of toys or the warmth of bedtime tales. A destiny was bestowed upon him, encased in camel skin and adorned with enigmatic maps. Niccolo and Maffio had once graced the grand court of the illustrious Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan, and now, with hearts full of ambition, they were resolute in their quest to return, this time accompanied by their eager-eyed son. Picture this. At just 17, with the familiar streets of your city still fresh in your mind, you receive an unexpected call to adventure. Gather your belongings, for a journey to China awaits on foot. Without a vessel or a safety net, only horses, the sweltering sun, and a flicker of hope remain. It was a peculiar choice. Marco had not received any formal training in the art of diplomacy, was not one to translate words. He was utterly unfamiliar with the Mongolian tongue. Yet what he possessed was a rare gift, an insatiable curiosity, and an extraordinary ability to notice the world around him. In the year of our Lord 1271, Marco Polo set forth from the enchanting city of Venice, flanked by his father and uncle. Together, they embarked on an epic journey, one that would span more than 15,000 miles and unfold over the course of nearly 25 years. They were neither soldiers nor priests. They were merchants driven by a death wish, or perhaps visionaries. Depending on the lens through which you choose to view them, Venice had bestowed upon him commerce, while the journey ahead promised the vastness of the world. It all started with a sacred blessing from the Pope, quite literally, before embarking on their adventurous journey into the unknown. The Polo family paused in Acre, located in the Holy Land, to gather sacred oil and letters intended for Kublai Khan from Pope Gregory X. After all, when venturing into the vast Mongol Empire, it's wise to carry offerings, divine blessings, and the necessary documentation. Following that unexpected turn, the true adventure unfolded. They journeyed northward into the realms of Armenia and Persia, where the deserts lay vast and unforgiving, and the sun scorched the very fabric of your garments. It wasn't merely the oppressive heat or the relentless sand that posed a threat. They were deep within the realm of bandits. Should the land not conquer you, the people surely would. In the shadowy heights, marauders prowled like cunning wolves, hungry to relieve you of your burdens, beginning with the very breath of life. Marco didn't merely endure. He embraced every moment. Everywhere they wandered, he absorbed experiences. Like a sponge soaking up the vibrant atmosphere of a bustling bazaar, He was captivated by the fireworks-shipping Zoroastrians in Persia, savored unusual drinks, and discovered the art of understanding those whose words were foreign to him. He was being subtly shaped by his journey, a blend of trader, observer of cultures, and resilient soul. The Silk Road was not merely a path. It was a complex tapestry of caravan trails, meandering through sun-scorched plains. Ancient fortresses in decay, and cities that emerged from the dust like vivid dreams. In the enchanting realms of Yazd and Balkh, Marco beheld structures that seemed conjured by sorcery, marketplaces brimming with treasures beyond his wildest dreams, rhubarb, lapis lazuli, gunpowder, and the majestic presence of camels. Countless camels roam the vast expanse. With a chorus of grumbles and the occasional flatulent outburst, these camels embody a delightful blend of irritation and stubbornness, each one more obstinate than its predecessor. Marco embarked on his journey, any whimsical dreams of romance. An adventure swiftly faded, overshadowed by the relentless drudgery of desert existence, the unappealing realities of camel spit, and the unwelcome grip of dysentery. Yet, they continued their journey, ascending through the Pamirs, the very pinnacle of the world where the thin air took your breath away, and the wind roared as if it were lamenting your presence. The air thinned, and Marco's form became more angular, yet his resolve remained unyielding. His resilience grew, toughening like the calluses that formed on his hands. Time flowed like a river, with months gracefully transforming into years. As they neared the borders of Yuan, China, Marco had transformed beyond the identity of a mere merchant son. He spoke multiple languages with ease, possessed a mastery of survival, moved with the natural cadence of a world that many Europeans could scarcely fathom. In the heart of Venice, a young boy was on the cusp of transformation, destined to become the man who would reshape Europe's perception of the East. When Marco Polo finally arrived at the very core of the Mongol Empire, he was weary, his skin bronzed by the relentless sun, and truth be told, he likely carried the scent of a long-dead yak. Yet all of that faded into the background. For before him, in the magnificent city of Chengdu, stood the majestic palace of Kublai Khan. In this realm, the royal court was anything but ordinary. Castles of Europe are best left behind. In the heart of the vast Mongolian wilderness lay a magnificent complex, a tapestry of marble halls and silk tents adorned with threads of gold, shimmering like a precious jewel against the rugged landscape, protected by the finest warriors and brimming with learned scholars, skilled magicians, majestic elephants, keen astronomers, and insightful interpreters. It resembled an international airport more than a grand imperial palace. A remarkable emperor, unlike any other, in a time long past. A remarkable figure emerged, the grandson of Genghis Khan, who commanded an empire of unparalleled expanse. This vast dominion stretched gracefully from the shimmering shores of the Pacific Ocean to the storied lands by the Black Sea, weaving a tapestry of cultures and conquests across the ages. And yet, he embraced the Polo trio as if they were long-lost companions. What is the reason behind this? For the sheer passion he had for knowledge, he desired it with the fervor of a dragon yearning for its hoard of gold. And what of Marco? Marco possessed tales. The Khan felt an immediate fondness for the young Marco. Perhaps it was the spark of his inquisitive nature. Perhaps it was the manner in which he spoke of Persia or India, or the rich tapestry of Armenian customs, as if weaving a lyrical narrative. In that moment, Kublai recognized the spark of promise and entrusted Marco with a position at court. In an instant, the young Venetian found themselves transformed into a trusted envoy within the mightiest court on the globe. Marco was not one to merely linger in admiration of carpets. The Khan dispatched him on quests that took him across China and far beyond its borders. He journeyed through the enchanting provinces of Yunnan and Sichuan, and even ventured into the lands of present-day Myanmar and Vietnam. Marco transformed into the empire's vigilant observer, keen listener, and on occasion, its voice. He beheld the transformation of paper money, wielded like enchanted scrolls of financial might. He beheld magnificent postal stations where fresh steeds awaited every 25 miles, akin to the swift delivery of the 13th century. He strolled through bustling cities teeming with life, where the streets gleamed and the sanitation systems hummed with efficiency. In a distant corner of Europe, the age-old practice continued, as chamber pots were carelessly tossed into the narrow alleyways, testament to the times and the lives of those who walked the cobblestone streets, and Marco captured every detail, if only in his mind. His true narrative would unfold in due time. In this moment, he was a keen observer, taking in not only the landscapes and traditions, but also the rich tapestry of textures, vibrant colors, enticing smells, and the intricate dance of human interactions. Within the grand palace of the dragon, the son of the Venetian merchant discovered not dread, but an enchanting allure that captivated his very soul. As Marco Polo lingered in the court of Kublai Khan, the empire unfolded in ever more surreal and sophisticated layers. This was not the fearsome horde that Europe spoke of in hushed tones over their wine glasses. Indeed, this was a grand empire adorned in silk robes, equipped with astronomical observatories, thriving bureaucracies, and cities that would make Paris seem like a mere soggy hamlet. Once upon a time, there was a grand capital known as Khanbalik, a place that has since transformed into the vibrant city we now call Beijing. Marco painted a picture of a city so expansive that one could gallop on horseback for half a day and still not reach the Grand Palace. In this vibrant city, wide boulevards stretched out like welcoming arms, organized markets buzzed with life, public granaries stood as pillars of sustenance, and vigilant neighborhood inspectors roamed the streets, ever watchful for any whispers of wrongdoing. Europe continues to cast shadows of blame upon unseen forces for their poor harvests, and so we come to the food. Marco savored flavors that danced beyond the boundaries of the Western mind. Exotic fruits danced on the palate, rich sauces enveloped the senses, and the fermented mare's milk was met with polite tolerance. Culinary innovations emerged, like noodles that bore an uncanny resemblance to what would later be known as pasta in Italy. Historians debate the nature of chance. Marco just finished his meal, but it wasn't a tale of grand banquets and breathtaking vistas. He beheld the Khan system of justice, a force both ruthless and precise. Those who dared to steal faced a grim fate, their noses severed as a mark of their transgressions. Corrupt officials met their end in a dramatic spectacle. In the realm of the Mongols, there was no room for second chances. Yet amidst their fierce reputation, they stood as guardians of merchants and champions of religious tolerance. In the tapestry of belief, we find threads of Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and Taoism, each weaving its own unique narrative into the fabric of spirituality in the grand tapestry of life. What truly holds weight is the fulfillment of one's obligations, such as the payment of taxes. As the tale unfolds, Marco found himself in awe of the empire's intricate administration of taxes. In a land of provinces, each was carved into districts, where overseers, record keepers, and rotating officials took their posts, all in a noble quest to guard against the shadows of corruption. Currency once held the weight of gold, a promise sealed with the gravitas of mortality. To turn down a chance like that is to forfeit more than just your money. Marco shared the tale of the Pony Express system woven into the fabric of the Mongol postal network every 25 miles. There lay horse stations, brimming with supplies, food, and a welcoming shelter for weary travelers. In a realm vast and sprawling, the swift couriers traversed the empire with a speed that left even the mightiest European monarchs in the dust. Unable to match the rapid delivery of a simple message across their own domains, yet what truly captivated the imagination was the vibrant tapestry of cultures interwoven together in his court. The Khan welcomed a diverse assembly of Persians, Arabs, Chinese, and even Europeans, weaving together a tapestry of cultures in his governance. Each person played their part in the unfolding tale, the sole credential. Valued at for Marco, this was a moment of awakening. In a time when Europe found itself ensnared in the throes of religious disputes and the rigid structures of feudalism, The landscape was rife with conflict and division. Yet in the East, wisdom and skill held the highest authority, and the Khan, composed, strategic, and inquisitive, was more than merely a conqueror. He held the reins of administration, a beacon of vision, and in Marco's gaze, he stood as the mightiest figure on the planet. The lad from Venice had now glimpsed a realm that his homeland could scarcely conceive. His journey was only beginning. Marco Polo's position in Kublai Khan's court was a dynamic tale of intrigue and adventure. Once upon a time, he found himself a diplomat, tasked with the delicate mission of negotiating with rebellious vassals. In the blink of an eye, he was racing away into the hills of Yunnan, tasked with uncovering the secrets of mineral wealth, or ensuring the proper collection of taxes, and on rare occasions, he transformed into a shadowy figure, blending seamlessly into the local scene, keenly observing the allegiances of those around him, discerning who pledged their loyalty to the Khan and who did not. How did a young outsider earn such profound trust within the mightiest empire on the planet? It was more than mere chance. Marco possessed two remarkable abilities, the art of keen observation and the gift of weaving tales. He could stroll into a village, engage with the farmers, explore their traditions, savor their cuisine, and come back with a narrative so rich it felt as though the Khan had experienced it firsthand. Marco didn't merely gather facts, captured the very essence of experiences. He had a way of painting a picture with words, capturing the essence of a man's demeanor. The midday aroma of bustling markets, or the subtle sound of silk whispering. In the governor's sleeves, as he spun his tales of deceit, this was held in high regard by the Khan. Marco was far from a rigid bureaucrat. He embodied a tapestry of tales, weaving together the wisdom of an anthropologist, the humor of a court jester, and the precision of a human GPS. It was a delightful advantage that he had the ability to enchant an entire room. He hailed from distant lands. He had woven together a tapestry of Persian and Mongolian words that allowed him to communicate. And when language faltered, his theatrical spirit stepped into the spotlight. He had a knack for imitating accents, painting vivid pictures of monsters that seemed to leap from the shadows, and weaving tales of legends that drew even the toughest warriors to the edge of their seats. Yet his journeys were fraught with peril. During a daring adventure in India, Marco found himself on the brink of death, battling a fierce fever. In a different tale, his caravan faced an onslaught from the fierce mountain tribes. He endured a single stab wound, a non-fatal injury, and found himself imprisoned for a fortnight due to a misunderstanding that led to him being served chicken, heads and goat milk, until at last, someone identified his Mongol badge of passage. Yet, he persevered, witnessed elephants adorned in shimmering armor, Hindu ascetics bravely traversing flames, Tibetan sky burials that twisted his insides, and southern lands so blistering that it was said eggs could fry upon the sand. Amidst the chaos, Marco stood resolute. Each meeting, each flirtation with mortality, each wonder he stored away in his memory like a chronicler inscribing tales in secret script. Unbeknownst to him, the tales of paper currency, funeral birds, mountain spirits, and silk cities would eventually shake the very core of European comprehension. As the sun rose on the early 1290s, Marco Polo found himself woven into the rich tapestry of the great Khan's court. Having dedicated nearly 20 years to this grand adventure, he journeyed through towering mountains, vast deserts, dense jungles, and endless oceans, enduring fevers, navigating political intrigues, and narrowly escaping more than one arrow that whizzed perilously close to his heart. Yet Venice was starting to beckon him, as if it were a familiar whisper he could no longer dismiss. Yet a singular challenge loomed ahead. Kublai Khan was reluctant to part ways with him. Khan, in the twilight of his years and beset by shadows of suspicion, had developed a fondness for Marco and the Polo family. They transcended mere utility. They were woven into the fabric of his inner circle, held in trust like few others could ever hope to be. Allowing them to depart felt akin to surrendering his most cherished chess pieces just before the decisive match, as is often the case. Destiny stepped in to weave its intricate tapestry. Once upon a time, a noble Persian prince found himself in need of a trusted companion for his journey. His beloved, a Mongol princess known as Kokachin, was destined to arrive by sea from China to Persia. The path through the land was fraught with peril, and the expedition demanded individuals whom the Khan could rely upon to navigate without losing their way, succumbing to fate, or unwittingly igniting a conflict along the way. With a deft touch, he engaged the Polos. This was not merely an uncomfortable family getaway. It unfolded as a chaotic puzzle of planning gone awry. Imagine a grand fleet of 14 ships, carrying more than 600 souls diplomats weaving intricate tales of politics, priests whispering prayers for safe passage, warriors ready for battle, cooks preparing feasts, and at the heart of it all, a terrified teenage princess, burdened with the heavy mantle of a dynastic alliance resting upon her delicate shoulders. They embarked on their journey from Chowanso in 1292, and what unfolded was a gradual unraveling of calamity. Tempests ravaged the fleet, marauders lurked in the shadows, and a relentless plague swept through, claiming the lives of many crew members and passengers alike. Among the original 600 adventurers, merely a handful endured the trials, with the Polos and the princess among the fortunate few. As they finally staggered into Hormuz nearly 2 years later, it felt less like a diplomatic entrance and more like a ghostly procession. Yet the journey has reached its conclusion. The princess arrived, a vision of grace and elegance. The prince felt a deep sense of gratitude. In the heart of China, the Khan would meet his end in 1294, never to reunite with his Venetian companion. At last, the path was clear for the Polos to embark on their journey homeward. They came back not as victors, but lost in a haze of uncertainty. In a time of strife, Venice found itself locked in a fierce conflict with Genoa. No one saw them for who they truly were. They donned attire from distant lands, their words a curious melody, and their pockets brimmed with jewels intricately stitched into the fabric. Whispers among the locals suggested they were either impostors or driven by madness. After 24 years of adventure, Marco Polo returned home, and Europe stood bewildered, unsure of how to embrace his extraordinary tales. One might imagine that after enduring the harshness of deserts, navigating the treacherous waters of Mongol politics, braving disease-laden sea voyages, and witnessing enough palace intrigue to fill countless tales, Marco Polo would choose to settle down, trade in silk, and cultivate a fine Venetian beard. Yet fate had other plans for him, leading him straight to the confines of a jail cell. Not long after his return, the vibrant city of Venice found itself embroiled in conflict with its longtime rival, Genoa. Marco, a steadfast son of Venice, plunged into the fray, for what finer way to weave himself back into the fabric of society than to find himself amidst the clash of naval warfare? In the year of our Lord 1298, he found himself ensnared and cast into the cold confines of a Genoese prison. Yet in that dark place, destiny bestowed upon him a quill, an eager audience, and a chance to etch his name into the annals of eternity. His cellmate was Rusticello de Pisa, a weaver of romantic tales who had dedicated his life to crafting chivalric stories filled with valiant knights and fearsome dragons, much like the medieval counterpart of a fantasy novelist. Marco began to weave a tale about paper currency. Bustling cities teeming with 1 million souls, mountains ablaze with fire, tribes of cannibals, mysterious black stones that blazed with a heat surpassing that of wood. Rusticello's jaw dropped. In astonishment, retrieved ink and parchment from his satchel. "Could you repeat that, please?" "Take your time." Thus commenced the tale of Il Milione, the travels of Marco Polo. Marco spoke. Rusticello wove magic into the words. Together they wove a narrative so extraordinary, so mesmerizing, that most Europeans found themselves questioning whether it was reality, imagination, or a vivid dream. Adventurers stumbled upon marvels that had yet to grace their ears. Once upon a time, there existed a world where paper currency flowed like rivers. Coal fueled the fires of industry, and porcelain gleamed with the artistry of skilled hands. In this land, snow leopards roamed the mountains, while rhubarb was revered as a remedy for ailments. Majestic Buddhist temples stood tall, whispering ancient wisdom, and Siberian shamans danced under the moonlight, weaving spells of healing. Amidst it all, palaces rose with walls of gold, shimmering in the sunlight. Telling tales of grandeur and opulence, Marco painted vivid pictures of cities like Hangzhou and Kambalik, bringing them to life with his words. It transformed European capitals into vibrant haypiles brimming with personality, yet the tales that lingered weren't always rooted in truth. He wove tales of unicorns, perhaps rhinos, men adorned with dog-like visages, likely misinterpreted tribal markings, and colossal birds that lifted elephants high into the heavens. We'll attribute that to a touch of creative freedom. Was everything truly as it seemed? Absolutely not. Was everything truly sincere? Perhaps, yet it held no significance. The book ignited a fervor, its words transcending borders as it was translated into countless tongues, meticulously copied by hand and eagerly consumed by scholars, merchants, and dreamers throughout Europe. In an age when many dismissed him as either a fabricator or a madman, there emerged a Genoese sailor, born long after his time. He would peruse the pages of his writings, then close the book, pondering the possibilities with a quiet "what if." The name of that sailor. In the annals of exploration, one name stands out: Christopher Columbus. The tales spun within Marco Polo's jail cell had just shifted the course of the Western world forever. Marco Polo was a visionary so far beyond the understanding of his peers that many dismissed him as a dreamer. Even upon his return to Venice, even as the tales of Marco Polo swept across Europe with fervor, many found it hard to accept his words as truth. He wove tales of cities grander than those in all of Christendom, of stones that blazed like flames, of dark-skinned men in shimmering golden palaces, of folk who indulged in daily baths. That final tale was sufficient to elicit a raised eyebrow from the medieval Europeans. Scholars engaged in spirited discussions, pondering the truth behind his far-reaching claims of travel. Some claimed he drew inspiration from ancient Arab texts. Some claimed he had never ventured beyond Persia. He seldom spoke of the Great Wall of China, and his tales of tea and chopsticks were curiously lacking in detail, yet they overlooked the essence. Marco was not crafting a travel guide for the solitary wanderer. He was a merchant, a weaver of tales, and above all, a man whose perspective was shaped by the vibrant streets of Venice, not by the confines of a PhD in sinology. He captured the sights that unfolded before him, the memories that lingered in his mind, and the moments that left him in awe. Given that he lacked a camera, notebooks, and was recounting his tale from memory while languishing in a Genoese jail cell, we might grant him a bit of understanding. In the face of doubt, Marco Polo carved out a legacy that would echo through the ages, achieving fame during his own time, a peculiar sort of notoriety, driven by intrigue rather than jubilation. His name was known to many, yet they regarded him as that eccentric uncle who insists he once encountered a mermaid. Engaging, without a doubt. However, let us refrain from bringing him up during our meal. Yet the tale persisted. It journeyed, through time transformed and shared. Finding its way from one person to another, it found its way into the grand libraries of rulers and traders, the sacred spaces of clergy, and the adventurous hearts of explorers. It sowed thoughts in hearts that were just starting to grasp the vastness beyond their small village. As the years flowed by, Marco found himself once again embracing the life of a merchant. In the enchanting city of Venice, he found love, embraced the joys of fatherhood with 3 daughters, and quietly nurtured his business amidst the serene canals. Yet he always held fast to his narratives. On his deathbed in 1324, encircled by priests imploring him to confess and retract his fabrications, Marco Polo is reported to have declared, "I have not shared even half of what I witnessed. It was not an act of rebellion. It was a truth that resonated deeply." How can one convey the immense expanse of the world to those who have never ventured beyond their own block? Indeed, you do not. Pen it with care, release it into the world. Trust that the echoes of tomorrow are attuned to your words. In the year 1324, Marco Polo took his final breath in serene silence, yet the tale of his adventures was only beginning. To embark on its journey across the world? In the ages that came after, the travels of Marco Polo emerged as a pivotal work. Shaping the course of world history in profound ways, it transcended mere popularity in the monastic scriptoria of Europe. Once upon a time, a seed took root in the fertile ground of dreams, landscapes, and aspirations. Seafarers, learned minds, and rulers held his narratives close. As if they were maps to a realm just beyond their grasp, acres immersed themselves in his narratives, transforming tales into landscapes of peaks and towns, some tangible, others born from fantasy. Maps of Asia soon carried names such as Cathay for China and Zipangu for Japan, drawn directly from Marco's accounts. In a realm where vast stretches of the earth lay as empty scrolls, he infused them with form, hue, and essence, even if at times his creations strayed far from the mark. And then came the tale of that Genoese sailor. Christopher Columbus was not merely a reader of the travels. He immersed himself in it, marked it with notes, and kept it close through the night, as he embarked on his journey westward in 1492. The echoes of Marco's words accompanied him, almost as if they were stowed away in his very vessel. Columbus was convinced he was arriving at the eastern lands that Marco had painted so vividly in his tales. Instead, he found himself in a realm unlike any he had ever imagined, in an unexpected turn of events. Marco Polo's vivid imagination sparked a revelation he could never have foreseen. Yet a legacy is not forged solely through precision. It is shaped by the resonance it leaves behind. Marco's vivid portrayals of unknown religions, cultures, and peoples, while occasionally seen through his European perspective, were groundbreaking. He unveiled to his audience the notion that the world was not merely vast, but also more intelligent, affluent, intricate than the narratives they had encountered in church sermons. He played a pivotal role in breaking the medieval notion that civilization ceased beyond the Alps. In his pursuit, he not only expanded the boundaries of maps, but also broadened the horizons of thought. Indeed, there were those who voiced their dissent. In time, scholars delved into the gaps and flourishes of his narrative. They pondered why he failed to speak of the Great Wall, which, truth be told, wasn't quite magnificent at that time, or why he embellished tales of legendary creatures. Yet, none of that diminished the undeniable truth that he ignited a spark in countless souls to venture forth, seek answers, and envision the extraordinary. Marco Polo was not merely a wanderer of paths, he was an explorer of ideas. And within the vast tapestry of time, it could very well be the most remarkable adventure of all. To truly grasp the essence of ancient Rome, one must look beyond the marble statues and the grand speeches echoing through the Senate halls. Begin with the bustling street vendors. The true pulse of the empire didn't resonate in the grand forum. It thrummed in the clay pots nestled in smoky alleyways, where the hungry gathered, clutching empty stomachs and a handful of coins. In the bustling heart of ancient Rome, the majority of its citizens resided in tightly packed apartment blocks known as insula. Imagine a towering structure of 5 stories, crafted from wood that seems to breathe fire, devoid of plumbing and insulation, and lacking the heart of any home a kitchen. In the realm of domestic life, the act of cooking was often fraught with peril, a dance with flames that only the affluent could truly afford to embrace. For all the others, the meals came from beyond the confines of their immediate surroundings. And so the thermopolia emerged on the scene. These were Rome's response to the contemporary quick-service eatery in a bustling marketplace. Narrow stalls beckon with their open fronts, showcasing massive stone counters that cradle sunken clay pots, each pot steaming and filled with a mysterious yet tantalizing concoction invites the curious to explore its flavors. Hearty meat stews, earthy lentils, robust beans, savory salted fish, tender boiled cabbage, and enigmatic sausages steeped in garum await the curious palate. In every corner of the suburb, if it could be cooked, boiled, fried, or fermented, it beckoned from the streets, its aroma wafting through the air, drawing you in from afar, Vendors called out with fervor, each vying for attention as they peddled their unique offerings to slaves, soldiers, laborers, and those wise enough to avoid the trials of cooking at home. With just a few bronze coins in hand, one could indulge in a satisfying feast, perhaps a savory chickpea pancake, a delicately fried dormouse, believe it or not, or a warm flatbread, generously spread with honey and fragrant crushed herbs. Then came the germ, the savory elixir, that bound the empire in its flavorful embrace, crafted through the ancient art of fermenting fish entrails beneath the warm sun. Transforming them into a rich, brown, salty elixir, garum found its way onto nearly every dish. To the discerning palate of the Romans, it was akin to liquid gold. To contemporary senses, it likely carried the scent of a blunder, yet the thermopolia held significance beyond mere sustenance. On those corners of the world, whispers danced through the air, fortunes were wagered, and lives intertwined in a tapestry of intrigue. Starving souls, intertwined with murmurs of power plays, misdeeds, and intrigue. In the bustling arena of life, warriors may share a meal with traitors, and the liberated may find companionship with rogues. In Rome, your social status may have dictated your dining choices in the past, but here the pangs of hunger unite us all. To truly grasp the essence of Roman life, one need not rely on ancient scrolls or intricate sculptures. Listen closely to the bubbling of the stew, the scrape of the ladle, the frustrated exclamations of a cook in pursuit of a mischievous child who has just snatched a fig in the heart of the empire. A constant growl echoed, a reminder of its restless spirit. Imagine stepping into a Roman neighborhood at midday. The first sensations that would greet you are the cacophony of voices and the rich, enticing aromas that fill the air. In the air, a medley of smoke mingles with the sharpness of fish sauce, while spices dance around the warmth of sweat and the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread. The city rose not on mere distractions and indulgences, it thrived on lentils and the sizzling embrace of deep fryers. Step into the Thermopolium, the bustling food stall of Rome, where the everyday citizen finds their culinary delights. These were not establishments as we know them today. They were tiny yet boundless, present in every corner in the ancient city. Of Pompeii, a remarkable discovery awaits. Archaeologists have unveiled more than 150 establishments, each featuring counters adorned with deep-set dolio, those grand clay jars that once held simmering hot meals, offering a glimpse into the culinary practices of a bygone era, albeit with a touch of rustic charm. In the bustling streets of ancient cities, many thermopolia found their place. Seamlessly integrated into the facades of apartment blocks, you approached, rested against the counter, and gestured towards an object that seemed less daunting than the others. A proprietor, or more frequently a family of dedicated staff, would ladle your meal into a bowl, often accompanied by a playful caution not to inquire about its contents. What tales does the menu hold? Completely Roman. Imagine a warm bowl of pulse, a delightful grain porridge, adorned with a variety of toppings, from sweet honey to savory morsels of leftover meat. Imagine a feast laid out before you, hearty lentil and chickpea stews, tender boiled cabbage, succulent grilled fish, and for those daring enough, sausages drenched in garum. That ubiquitous fish sauce that infused every bite with a bold intensity. In moments of fortune, one might encounter the delightful presence of fried cheese or pastries, lovingly sweetened with dates and sesame for the working-class Romans. The Thermopolium served as a blend of convenience store, cafeteria, and social hub. It wasn't merely a meal that drew you there. You ventured forth to gather the latest tidings, voice your grievances about taxes, engage in spirited debates over gladiator contests, and perhaps slip a coin or two into a palm in the vibrant world of Roman graffiti. One can find lively mentions of various establishments, celebrating the culinary delights or casting playful jabs at the proprietors. One inscription from Pompeii declares, "I had my way with the barmaid at the inn." Once upon a time, the landscape of Yelp reviews remains quite familiar. Indeed, libations flowed freely. In the days of old, there existed a humble concoction known as malsum, a blend of wine and honey that graced the tables of many. Alongside it flowed pasca, a diluted vinegar that found favor among soldiers and those with a taste for the unconventional. The privileged, naturally, looked down upon all of this. They viewed Thermopolia as unkempt, tumultuous, and beneath them, yet they had never found themselves in a spirited struggle for a piece of warm flatbread at the stroke of midnight, following the revelry of a public festival. For the everyday Roman, these stalls were essential lifelines. Expensive, sizzling, swift. Rome's response to fast food wasn't marked by golden arches. In a humble terracotta bowl, a steaming pot of bean stew simmered, inviting all to gather around and share in its warmth. Envision, if you will, the grand tapestry of Roman cuisine, where senators lounge in opulence, savoring the delicate flavors of roasted peacock and indulging in oysters served upon gleaming silver trays. Indeed, such events unfolded for those who wielded wealth and influence, always striving to surpass their neighbors in a relentless pursuit of grandeur yet. For those who found themselves in the grips of poverty, as was the case for many Romans, the fare they consumed painted a starkly different picture. More subtlety. Another serving of porridge, please. Much more porridge. The routine commenced with a true grind, quite literally. In the days of ancient Rome, the less fortunate dined on poles, a soft and pliable porridge made from barley or wheat, lacking in both taste and excitement. Unfortunate days may be adorned with a drizzle of olive oil, flecks of garlic, or morsels of chickpeas. On those unfortunate days, it was merely a bowl of hot grain paste, akin to the Roman version of a disheartening oatmeal. In the bustling corners of the city, street food became the vibrant thread that wove together the lives of those seeking a break from the everyday grind. Ah! The chickpea pancakes, known as pani sakaris, captured the hearts and taste buds of all who tried them. Inexpensive, satisfying, and brimming with protein. Everywhere flatbreads baked over glowing coals beckoned, often offered simply or adorned with garum, that ever-present fermented fish sauce that tantalized the senses. It was the condiment of the Roman underbelly, possessing a fishier, saltier essence and stirring more debate than the controversial pineapple atop a pizza. With just a few more coins in your pocket, you could treat yourself to a humble feast of boiled vegetables, often featuring leeks, onions, or cabbage, each with their own tale to tell. The meat was seldom seen, and at times, let's just say, not quite fresh. The street stalls offered sausages, yet curiosity about their contents remained unspoken. Should you stumble upon a piece of genuine beef or pork, well done to you. Fortune smiled upon you, or perhaps you were dancing on the edge of deception. Fava beans were a staple in many tales. Lentils were abundant, filling every nook and cranny. Fish, whether dried, smoked, or salted, often graced the table as a common source of protein, but seldom represented the finest quality. Imagine anchovies basking under the sun's relentless gaze for an entire week, yet for a Roman laborer toiling beneath the blazing sun, a steaming bowl of lentil stew accompanied by fresh flatbread was nothing short of paradise. Once upon a time, sweets were a rare treasure, yet they graced the world in the bustling market. Vendors offered an array of delightful treats, date cakes that whispered sweet tales, honey-drenched fritters that beckoned with their golden allure, and muster-sai, enchanting cookies crafted from grape must and sesame, each bite a story waiting to be savored. It may have seemed small, but after a grueling day spent hauling bricks or sweeping the streets, it was just enough to ignite a man's faith in the divine. What about beverages? The flow of water was often unpredictable. In the bustling streets of ancient Rome, the less fortunate often found solace in their humble drinks. They sipped on watered-down wine or pasca, a tangy blend of vinegar that might seem like a cruel fate, but offered a surprisingly refreshing reprieve from the sweltering summer sun. For those striving to make ends meet, survival was not a tale of luxury. It revolved around the quest for sustenance that could satisfy hunger, be acquired for mere pennies, and ensure survival. The vibrant allure of street food, with its smoky aromas and hints of the sea, truly delivered an unforgettable experience. In the vibrant tapestry of Roman street food, one ingredient stands out, captivating the senses and stirring curiosity: garum. This was more than a mere condiment. It was a national fixation, a symbol of culinary prestige, and perhaps even a lurking threat to public health, all contained within a humble clay jug. What, pray tell, was garum all about? In essence, it's the essence of fish transformed through fermentation. Gather a heap of anchovies or mackerel trimmings, blend them with salt, and let them bask in the relentless sun for weeks or even months, patiently awaiting their transformation into a rich, golden brown sludge. Extract the bones, capture the essence, and there you have it, garum, Rome's most cherished export. Concoction that some might label a war crime in a bottle, depending on one's perspective. To the Romans, garum was a wondrous elixir. It brought forth a depth of flavor long before the term was ever coined. It spread across all things. Once upon a time, there was a delightful array of porridge: hearty stew, sizzling sausages, vibrant vegetables, and sweet fruit. There existed various levels as well: the exquisite, transparent liquamen, gracing the tables of the elite, contrasted with the dense, shadowy remnants found in the bustling street stalls and humble abodes of the less fortunate. The cost was quite steep. The finest offerings may come at a price that surpasses that of wine. In the ancient world, elite garum flowed from the bustling shores of Pompeii and Hispania, where entire coastal towns dedicated themselves to the craft of creating vast vats of this prized delicacy. These were not mere backyard endeavors. In those days, the industrial centers loomed large, their towering stacks of clay amphorae reaching for the sky, while a pungent mist of fishy vapor hung heavily in the air, suffocating the landscape for miles around. Yet the less fortunate remained indifferent to origins. On the street, garum was the great equalizer, generously poured over lentils, mixed into chickpeas, and spread upon bread. It transformed ordinary fare into something enjoyable, providing street vendors with a clever means to disguise, shall we say, varying degrees of freshness. It was Rome's own take on a savory condiment akin to soy sauce or ketchup, which Thermopolium boasted a unique blend of garum, a hidden treasure of flavors waiting to be discovered. Some had a hint of earthiness, others ignited the senses with their heat, and a select few might just dance on the edge of culinary legality in today's world. In a fascinating twist of ancient customs, individuals resorted to sipping diluted garum to alleviate the woes of a hangover, revealing much about the drinking practices and resilient stomachs of the Romans. Naturally, there were those who did not share the enthusiasm. Seneca, the wise thinker, once referred to it as an expensive seasoning for the foolish. Some merely deemed it repulsive. Yet in spite of its aroma and enigma, garum was the essence of Rome's taste. It nourished legions, graced the tables of mighty rulers, and embraced each sausage crackling on bustling street corners. Garum transcended mere sustenance. It embodied a way of life, presented with a ladle and an unforgettable aroma that lingered in the air. Once upon a time, the concept of quick meals was not defined by burgers and drive-thrus. In the heart of Rome, the spirit of grab-and-go thrived. Though the paper napkins were notably absent, the city pulsed with life, its hunger insatiable, ever eager for the next tale to unfold. For the countless souls who navigated its bustling avenues, toiling through endless hours, with no moments to spare for leisurely lounging like the privileged few, the street food stall emerged as more than just a dining spot. It became a vital pause in their relentless daily race. Among the beloved snacks that accompany us on our journeys, pulsed chickpea fritters stand out as a delightful choice, golden and sizzling. With a delightful crunch on the outside and a tender embrace within, these treasures are offered by the generous handful, inexpensive, rich in protein, and wonderfully vegetarian. In the quiet corners of the suburb, concerns about cholesterol were far from anyone's mind. Flatbreads graced every corner. Available in both slices and whole discs, these delights can be enjoyed simply on their own, infused with garlic or generously spread with olive paste or remnants of stew. Some were infused with the sweetness of honey and the essence of herbs, while others stood as the epitome of simplicity, offering pure sustenance in a convenient form, ideal for those laborers seeking nourishment over chatter. Amidst the feast, there lay an array of stuffed pastries, each telling its own tale. Some whispered sweet secrets, filled with dates, nuts, and honey, while others shared savory stories, brimming with mashed lentils, boiled eggs, or even fish paste. Imagine them as the Roman equivalent of a hot pocket, crafted with care and completely free from the constraints of food safety regulations. She's often graced the scene. Vendors offered up hearty pieces of aged sheep cheese, resilient enough to withstand the relentless Roman sun. It may not have been extravagant, but it satisfied hunger and complemented both wine and a sense of urgency. Ah, and in the spirit of wine indeed, folks indulged as they journeyed forth, blended with water or honey and occasionally warmed wine, flowed from cups at bustling stalls or from the hands of mobile vendors who carried their wares in skin pouches. Mulsum, the delightful sweetened version, found favor particularly among laborers and those seeking to mask the flavor of a questionable sausage. Remember to include some fruit. Fresh figs, grapes, and olives were a delight to behold, easily transportable. Treasures offered by street peddlers who called out their goods amidst the vibrant chaos surrounding them. As the chill of the season settled in, roasted chestnuts emerged as a beloved delight. Warm and satisfying, ideal for savoring while meandering past feisty goats and wandering chickens. It lacked elegance and refinement, yet it was swift, affordable, and nourished a bustling city of 1,000,000 souls in the heart of Rome. The vibrant pulse of life thrived on garum, bread, and the relentless spirit of its people, with street food vendors fueling the city's unyielding energy. In the heart of Rome, the food you savored and the places you chose to indulge in were like badges of honor, reflecting your standing in society. Street food has always been an experience that transcends mere sustenance. Each day unfolded a tale that unveiled your status, your earnings, and the precariousness of your health, teetering on the edge of a tapeworm's grasp. For those toiling in hardship, Thermopolia offered a glimmer of hope. In the heart of your dilapidated insula, the absence of a kitchen spoke volumes. Even if one had existed, it would have been a perilous place, a fire hazard lurking in the shadows. While the rats had already laid claim to what little remained, in the midst of the bustling crowd, you found yourself shoulder to shoulder with others, exchanging a handful of small bronze coins for a serving of lentils or a piece of sausage, glistening with rich garum. Questions were not posed. You consumed what was warm and continued on your path. For the middle class of Rome artisans, freedmen shopkeepers, the street food experience was a vibrant tapestry of flavors. They could indulge in better vendors, savor fresher ingredients, or perhaps even hire a private cook to craft a warm meal at home. Some would meander through the vibrant stalls, drawn to the enticing aroma of specialty dishes, perhaps the crispy allure of fried cheese, the sweet temptation of date pastries, or the adventurous taste of grilled cuttlefish for those with a daring palate. Perhaps you could find yourself perched upon a stool. In contrast, the upper class experienced street food in a manner all their own. In the light of day, they cast it aside with scorn. In the grand halls of Rome, an aristocrat lounged gracefully upon plush cushions, attended by devoted slaves. With a goblet of wine, glimmering in crystal, he savored delicacies of peacock tongues, all while being served by none other than Cassius, the esteemed keeper of the napkin. The mere thought of positioning oneself at a food stall, drenched in sweat like a weary worker, was utterly outrageous. Ah, but wait for the unexpected turn. Despite the circumstances, they indulged in it regardless. Under the cover of night, senators cloaked in shadows would slip into the humble districts, seeking the warmth of roasted chickpeas or the rich flavor of garum, sourced straight from the heart of the community. Even those of great wealth found it impossible to turn away from a warm, sweet fritter just pulled from the flames. Writers such as Martial and Juvenal skillfully lampooned the hypocrisy in a world where the privileged cast judgment upon the less fortunate. They found themselves grappling with desires for the very sustenance they condemned. The irony of their disdain was palpable, as they shamed those who indulged in the flavors they secretly longed for. And let us not overlook the enslaved individuals. Though they found themselves at the bottom, they constituted a significant part of the population. Their meals were a patchwork of whatever they could scavenge, steal, or scrape together, each bite a testament to their resilience. Frequently remnants, left behind by their masters, or morsels gifted by kind-hearted stall owners, yet, on rare occasions, they savored the very same fried pancake or sausage as the free citizens did. In that instant, the boundaries of class faded, if only in the words we spoke. In Rome, food transcended mere sustenance, was a grand spectacle, a vivid portrayal of hierarchy, conflict, and the will to endure. When Roman street food buzzed with energy on an ordinary day, it transformed into a whirlwind of excitement. During festivals, a tantalizing blend of flavors, where smoky notes dance with the rich embrace of wine, creating a delightful whirlwind of culinary delight. In the heart of Rome, the spirit of celebration thrived, where revelry reigned supreme. In extravagant all-day festivities, here the divine were venerated, the enslaved indulged in libations, and the burdens of debt faded into oblivion amidst the joyous chaos. Each year, a multitude gathered, and with every festivity arrived an overwhelming surge of food, cascading through the streets more swiftly than the Tiber in the springtime. In the vibrant celebration of Saturnalia, a December extravaganza that dwarfed the humble gatherings of Christmas, the boundaries of society blurred as slaves joined their masters at the same stalls to share in the feast. Conventions flipped on their head in the bustling marketplace. Vendors spun tales of culinary delight as they roasted entire pigs on spits, the aroma wafting through the air. They offered up golden fried pastries, each bite a story of flavor, while steaming cups of hot wine, infused with pepper and honey, beckoned to passersby, inviting them to savor the warmth of the season. The streets were alive with the rich aromas of a butcher's shop, mingling with the sweet scent of freshly baked goods, and yet not a soul uttered a word of discontent. Lupercalia, the boisterous festival of fertility in February, was just as untammeled, in a vibrant display of youthful exuberance. Young men dashed through the streets, their bare skin glistening under the sun, while the food stalls bustled with offerings that perfectly matched the lively scene. Rich and robust dishes such as blood sausage, indulgent cuts of meat, crispy fried chickpeas, and dense bread to absorb the flowing wine, shared and savored in delightful abundance. Even the sacred celebrations held a feastful allure. Once the sacred rituals were completed at the temples, the offerings of the animals, particularly the choice morsels, found their way into the hands of food vendors or were generously distributed among the eager crowds. Street stalls would transform that fresh meat, simmering it into stews, crisping it up in a fry, or tucking it lovingly into bread. It was a divine feast, crafted in the grand tradition of Rome. Amidst the vibrant atmosphere of these events, street vendors flourished, weaving their tales of culinary delights and colorful wares. It was the height of commerce. Through the night, they toiled, carefully layering their dahlia with an array of stews, pastries, grilled fish, honey cakes, and a delightful assortment beyond. Little ones pleaded for sugary treats, elderly gentlemen bickered over fried olives, and the crowd indulged in an excess of mulsum, that sweet wine which hinted at a looming headache. Naturally, where there is nourishment, challenges are sure to follow. In a world where vendors, driven by greed, diluted their wine, and meat that had seen better days was still presented on plates, the bustling stalls became a playground for pickpockets, who feasted on the unsuspecting crowds like a banquet of opportunity. Yet it appeared that no one took notice. That is, until the hangover made its presence known. Festivals served not merely as tributes to the divine, but as a vital escape for a city on the brink of chaos. And at the heart of it all was food. Food sizzles and bubbles, served in rustic clay bowls, as fingers glisten with grease beneath the warm glow of lanterns. It was more than a mere feast. It was Rome, laid bare and carefree, while Roman street food certainly filled the bellies and kept the city alive. was not merely a tale of savory stews and sizzling sausages. Amidst the swirling steam and the cacophony of voices, there existed a shadowy realm where the very sustenance meant to nourish could deceive, endanger, or ensnare you in perilous circumstances. Let us embark on a journey into the realm of food fraud. In the grand tapestry of ancient Rome, the absence of health inspectors wove a curious thread. If the aroma of your lentil stew was less than pleasant, that was a tale of your own making. Vendors often diluted wine, blended chalk into flour, and employed spoiled meat, seasoned just right to deceive the senses. In a clever twist of deceit, one might take the foul stench of rotten fish, steep it in the savory depths of garum, and present it as if it were fresh and delightful. The cook was, beyond question, the whispered prayer to Mercury, the cunning guide of the shadows. You cast your hopes into the winds of fate. What about the prices? Wishing you all the best on your journey ahead, vendors manipulated their scales, wielded deceptive ladles, and exchanged ingredients in the midst of their stews. Once upon a time, you found yourself with a bounty of chickpeas, only to be met the next day with beans and a tinge of disappointment. In the vibrant streets of Pompeii, even the walls spoke, playfully ridiculing the dubious food vendors by name. Initial Yelp critiques, yet infused with greater spite and questionable spelling. At times, the consequences loomed larger than mere discomfort in the belly. In the bustling world of street food, vendors often found themselves entangled in a web of intrigue, where whispers of bribery floated through the air as they sought to claim prime corners and thwart their rivals. Conflicts erupted over the coveted stall locations. In the heart of the Sabora, a tale unfolds where a simple disagreement over a food stall ignited a riot, showcasing the passions that simmer beneath the surface. The swift motion spoons soared through the air. The stew cascaded from its vessel, a rich blend of flavors now scattered across the surface. Once upon a time, a tooth was lost in the most unexpected of ways, over a delightful olive fritter. And so we come to the poisons. Indeed, a deliberate act of poisoning. In the grand tapestry of Rome's history, adversaries lurked in every shadow, and the bounty of the land became a potent tool in their hands. Several senators met their demise through the treacherous sip of wine tainted with poison or the deceptive bite of figs sprinkled with shards of glass. In the realm of wealth, one would embark on journeys accompanied by a trusted food taster. In times of hardship, each morsel became a gamble, a chance taken with every bite. But let us not forget the presence of the rats, the roaches, and the pervasive filth that lingers in the shadows. Many stalls stood in close proximity to open sewers. Remnants of a meal lay scattered upon the pavement, alongside the weary and downtrodden, clashed for morsels as if they were warriors in an arena, stripped of their weapons. Hygiene was not merely lacking. It was a tale spun from the threads of imagination. Without a robust spirit by the age of 10, reaching the age of 15 became a formidable challenge. Yet each day, the Romans found their way back. The cuisine danced on the edge of danger, yet it beckoned with an allure that was impossible to resist. For in the grand tapestry of life, what are a few stomach woes when weighed against the delight of a steaming meatball, lavishly coated in garum? One might assume that the vibrant flavors of Roman street food faded into history, lost to time, like remnants of ash and ancient amphory. Yet the reality is that those smoky stalls, bubbling pots, greasy snacks have etched their mark on the canvas of contemporary cuisine. Perhaps you've savored the essence of ancient Rome without even realizing it. Begin with the fundamentals. Once upon a time, there was a humble loaf of bread in the bustling stalls of ancient Rome. One could find flatbread reminiscent of the beloved pizza Bianca enjoyed in contemporary Italy, with a drizzle of olive oil, a hint of garlic, and perhaps a touch of fermented anchovy paste. You find yourself just a street vendor's stall away from conjuring the flavors of a first-century meal. And what of the chickpeas? It remains a beloved element in the culinary traditions of the Mediterranean, from the creamy embrace of hummus to the golden allure of farinata, and the delightful crunch of contemporary falafel. The Romans' love for legumes resonates through the ages. Indeed, Pulse, their barley or wheat porridge closely resembles contemporary polenta or even savory oatmeal bowls. Ah, but let us not forget the tale of garum. Though the Roman original may not shine as brightly in the annals of history, its offspring are flourishing in the present day. In the realm of culinary delights, one can find that Southeast Asian fish sauce, Worcestershire sauce, and even certain soy sauces share a remarkable depth of flavor, each delivering a powerful umami experience. The concept of explosive, tangy delights. Long before it became fashionable, the Romans had already perfected the art. Even the very idea of street food, those quick, budget-friendly, handheld delights offered from small stalls, has its roots in the ancient Thermopolia. Though the contemporary food cart, taco stand, or kebab kiosk may dazzle the eye, the essence remains unchanged. Fiery dishes, wallet-friendly costs, bold tastes, no inquiries needed. Archaeological sites such as Pompeii unveil remarkable insights into the culinary traditions of ancient Rome. Whole food stalls have emerged from the depths of time, counters standing strong, pots bearing the marks of fire and remnants of snails. Duck and beans, carefully held within ajoled cooking vessels above the serving window. A fresco menu was beautifully painted, adding a touch of artistry to the scene. The marketing outshone many of the TikTok ads out there. And so, chefs and historians are breathing new life into ancient Roman recipes. Cookbooks bring to life the culinary delights of Apicius, the Roman emperor of gastronomy, transforming his ancient recipes into dishes you can savor today. Honey dormice, a delightful choice for the adventurous palate. In the heart of modern Rome, one can still savor the flavors that would have delighted a famished plebeian of yore. Golden fried artichokes, cheese kissed by fragrant herbs, flatbreads glistening with rich oil. The empire may have crumbled, the emperors reduced to mere whispers of the past, yet the essence lingers on, that endured. In that moment, as you sink your teeth into something salty, crispy, and deeply satisfying at the witching hour, you're partaking in a ritual that echoes the indulgences of Romans from 2 millennia past. With each greasy handful, you're savoring a piece of history. In the grand halls of the medieval court, silence was a fleeting whisper, seldom found. Amidst the vibrant tapestry of life and intrigue, amidst the melodic clinking of goblets, the whispering of silks, amidst the sporadic thud of a jousting mishap, one truth remained unwavering. Melody, but a melody that weaves tales of its own. To create an enchanting atmosphere for a grand banquet, to captivate a weary aristocrat, or to ease the tension following a grim execution. One summoned the minstrels. These were not mere musicians playing softly in the shadows. Minstrels crafted the melodies that echoed through the medieval landscape. They brought tidings, wove verses, delivered bold ballads, and crafted keen satire, all while their listeners clutched knives in hand. What are their instruments? In the grand tapestry of sound, lutes and harps weave their melodies, while flutes dance lightly through the air. The vielle fiddles join in harmony, and if one truly sought to rouse the slumbering nobles, the spirited notes of a bagpipe would surely do the trick. A skilled bard could transform a mundane court feast into a poetic clash of wits. The medieval court thrived on the art of drama and performance. With minstrels playing an essential role in this vibrant tapestry, they captured the essence of valor. Whether grounded in truth or spun into grand tales, whether a knight vanquished a dragon or simply tumbled from his steed in the attempt, a tale would be woven into a song. The listeners were indifferent to the reality of the tale. They cherished the rhythm of the words. Minstrels wove tales that transcended mere music. They wove words like spells. With keen wit and masterful phrasing, they wove grand narratives of star-crossed lovers, heroic champions, and heartbreaking treachery. They had the power to coax laughter from a grumpy lord, or draw tears from a battle-scarred knight, and they possessed an uncanny ability to sense the mood of the gathering. Perhaps it would be wise to steer clear of the risk humor that evening, especially if the Baron had just found himself embroiled in a scandal. In the grand tapestry of society, they're standing woven and out, shifting with the ebb and flow of circumstance. Some were cherished staples of the court, shielded and indulged. Some were regarded as mere entertainers, anticipated to perform for their meals and then rest in the hayloft. Yet every bard understood a singular truth. To thrive within the royal court, your melodies needed to possess depth beyond mere beauty. It needed to serve a purpose. In the realm of politics, where flattery dances, whispers of gossip weave through the air, and warnings are cloaked in the elegance of verse, what about their strength? It's vast. For ages before the ink touched the page, tales were woven through song, the grand acts of valor, trivial contests, the enchanting love stories, all flowed from one bard to another like vibrant tales of old. For a noble seeking to etch their legacy into the annals of time, a mere monument was not a necessity. A melody was essential. Ultimately, the minstrels wove more than mere melodies. They engaged in a game of memory. When a bard strolled into a medieval court, they weren't burdened with sheet music or a Spotify playlist. They came bearing a collection of sounds. Each instrument selected with precision to enchant, tease, or lament, swaying with the whims of the crowd and the level of inebriation among the nobles. The lute held its majestic throne. Its pear-shaped body and gentle twang made it an ideal companion for tales of tragic love and heroic deeds. In the heart of the realm, if you were a knight yearning to capture the heart of a fair maiden, or transform your missteps on the battlefield into a saga of bravery, the presence of a lute player would be essential. And then the harp arrived. Not the celestial golden creation from Renaissance art, but rather a humble wooden structure, strung with gut strings and tuned with the unwavering patience of a saint. The harp could weave a tapestry of delicacy or unleash a tempest of drama. It found its place in the grand tapestry of ceremonial entrances during tender moments of romance, or whenever a lord wished to appear contemplative, all while avoiding the burden of genuine thought. The feast was alive with the vibrant pulse of drums and the cheerful jingle of tambourines. They conveyed a sense of thrill. The fervor of gearing up for a clash, or the vibrant spirit of celebration when the wine flowed freely and decorum had long since taken its leave. For something more exotic, there was the viol, a proto-fiddle with a haunting nasal tone, ideal for weaving sorrowful laments or eerie tales. Nothing quite captured the essence of the moment like a haunting, solitary melody weaving through the air. As the flames danced and whispers of treachery in the court began to surface, the enchanting world of flutes and recorders. Perfect for vibrant dances or enchanting melodies that add a touch of whimsy to the atmosphere. Even the bagpipes found their niche, primarily within the courts of the Celtic and northern realms, cherished by the locals, yet detested by outsiders. And then came the vocals. A bard's voice was their most cherished instrument, honed not in pristine conservatories, but amidst bustling markets and resonant halls. These voices had to pierce through the clamor, the tipsy jeers, and the sporadic flung chicken bones. With the skill to mimic accents, they could chant in Latin, croon in elegant French, or unleash satire in the local dialect, all while maintaining the rhythm of a drum or the gentle strumming of a stringed instrument. Every performance unfolded like a graceful ballet, intertwining melody and meaning. A misstep in melody might dull the enchantment for those listening. A misplaced lyric might ruffle the feathers of the esteemed, yet, when performed with skill, the performer transformed. Into the very essence of the night, instruments transcended mere wood and string. They served as instruments of influence, strength, and endurance to those who lacked the discerning ear. A medieval minstrel may have appeared as mere background ambience, a melodic diversion, as the nobles indulged in their revelries, seeking to drown their sorrows in drink. Yet, what is their genuine purpose? Far more profound? Minstrels served as the medieval court's emotional guides, crafting narratives that shaped public perception, offered political insights, and preserved collective memories, all woven into the fabric of their melodies. Minstrels wove melodies that painted emotions and crafted atmospheres. A tense court gathering might find solace in the gentle embrace of a well-placed ballad. A queen's ennui might be dispelled by a tender melody of love, and when a valiant knight returned from a grand campaign, The bard was weaving tales even before the earth had settled on his footwear. They were, in their own way, keepers of tales from the past. In a realm where the written word was scarce, and tomes were outnumbered by the marks of conflict, the minstrels stood as the vibrant keepers of history. Their melodies carried the echoes of family histories, victories claimed, secrets kept, and unions forged. To have your name woven into a minstrel's ballad was to step onto the path of legendary fame in the medieval realm. Yet it was not merely a tale of sweet words and blooming petals. Minstrels had a sharp edge. Craft of court satire was a delicate dance, cleverly mocking lords through verse, shrouding barbs in intricate metaphors. A skilled bard understood precisely the limits of jest, knowing when a noble's laughter might shift to a piercing stare. Some wandering bards, especially those who journeyed from one court to another, gained renown for their clever humor and provocative poetry, skillfully navigating the fine line between admiration and downfall. They played a significant part in fostering diplomatic relations. When courts were visited, it was common for them to bring along their own musicians, adding a melodic touch to the occasion. These performances transcended mere entertainment. They were rich tapestries woven with threads of cultural sophistication, soft power, and mutual respect. An underwhelming performance might cast a shadow over a political agreement, a hauntingly beautiful lament could capture hearts where mere words fell short. In the depths of sorrow, the minstrels still found their role. In the solemn gatherings for the noble departed, one could hear the haunting melodies of dirges, artfully crafted not merely to mourn, but to celebrate and immortalize the legacy of those who had passed. The loftier the rank, the more elaborate the sorrow, and the heavier the burden to avoid a misstep. Some minstrels evolved into trusted companions of secrets. In a world where trust is scarce, the royals may find solace in confiding their secrets to the bard, who weaves their truths into melodies and verses, meant for the ears of those who truly pay attention. In the grand halls of the medieval court, the minstrel wove melodies that danced through the air, captivating all who gathered. In a realm governed by the intricate webs of politics, pride, and the art of performance, their presence became a vital thread in the tapestry of courtly life. In the realm of medieval music, not every musician held the same stature, though contemporary listeners may group them all as minstrels. The courts of the medieval era held a much more discerning view. Names held significance, and so did beginnings. In the resounding chambers of nobility, the distinction between a minstrel and a jester could determine a place at the feast or a night spent among the swine. Let us begin our journey with the troubadours, the masters of melody and verse, emerging from the noble courts of Occitania in southern France. These gifted individuals crafted and shared their own lyrical creations, weaving tales through their poetic compositions. In the melodic cadence of Occitan, they wove tales of courtly love, their verses steeped in noble passion, unfulfilled desires, and the heart-wrenching agony of witnessing a duchess bound to a man twice her years. Imagine them as bards of old, weaving tales of love lost and sorrow felt, each note dripping with the essence of poignant despair. Troubadours were not mere beggars. Among them were those of noble lineage, some even bearing the title of knight, granting them entry into the esteemed courts and the favor of powerful patrons. They were not called upon to perform tricks or twirl. Their craft lay in the art of words and the nuances of expression. A skilled bard could transform a mere lute melody into a profound exploration of love, honor, and the intricacies of social class. Below them lay the trouviers, their kin from the north. Similar concept, yet their melodies resonated in Old French, with themes that ventured into the realms of valor, chivalry, crusades, and epic sagas of heroism. Fewer wistful gazes and more decisive strikes in pursuit of honor. Then arrived the jongleurs, the true champions of medieval amusement. Jongleurs embodied a spirit of versatility and mobility, often embracing a raw and unpolished charm. They spun tales while juggling, wove melodies with multiple instruments, serenaded with borrowed songs, shared cheeky jokes, whispered the latest gossip. and occasionally showcased their talents by training animals. If the elegant performer at your wine bar was the troubadour, then the jongleur was the lively fiddler in the corner of the pub, full of energy, delightfully unpredictable, and at times truly exceptional, wandering from one court to another. From one town to the next, they thrived on the generosity of their audience, surviving on the tips and leftovers they gathered along the way, though they may not have held the same esteemed status as the troubadours. Their keen instincts and ability to gauge an audience were unmatched. When a noble sought to deliver a subtle jab at a rival, the jongleur was the perfect choice for the task. In the tapestry of performance, the troubadours and jongleurs, though distinct in their artistry, frequently joined forces to weave enchanting tales. One would weave the tale, while the other would bring it to life. One admired the countess's captivating gaze, while the other playfully teased her husband's shiny crown. In the grand tapestry of medieval courts, every musician wove their unique thread into the unfolding narrative. Harmony danced on the edge of choice. Prepare for an unforgettable tale of tension and excitement. Should you believe that the melodies of the medieval era solely celebrate chivalry and blooming rose gardens, prepare to be surprised. Travelers of old may have donned their tunics and strummed their lutes, yet the verses they wove could pierce the heart more profoundly than any blade. Within the harmonies lay keen insights, risk humor, dreamy romances, and a depth of political commentary that could unsettle even a monarch. Let us embark on a journey through the melodies of love, the very essence of the court musician's craft. Yet this was more than mere declarations of love or proposals of marriage. Alas, courtly love unfolded as a labyrinth of yearning, self-control, and lyrical anguish. The bard would declare eternal love for a lady often wed to a man of greater status, preferably one lacking in poetic flair. The object of desire lingered just out of reach, for the true excitement lay not in the victory, but in the exquisite torment of longing. Heartache, yet with a flair for style. Melodies would paint the beloved's eyes as twin stars, her touch as warm sunlight, her voice as resonant church bells, or if the poet's spirit waned, like a distressed goose. The metaphors danced gracefully along the edge of praise and theatricality, captivating the audience's hearts. Yet not every melody possessed such elegance. In the grand tapestry of history, satirical songs emerged as the clever jests of the medieval era, akin to the witty banter of late-night comedy shows we cherish today. They jested about lords who indulged too much, priests who strayed from virtue, and knights whose might overshadowed their wit. Minstrels honed their craft in the art of the roast, skillfully cloaking barbs within witty verses, and local tongues were filled with laughter, except for those in the spotlight. In that moment, a swift departure was recommended. Then there were the scandal songs, shared in hushed tones from one court to another, spreading like a lyrical wildfire. These were the whispers of the Middle Ages, tunes that suggested secrets of love, treachery, and the subtle vanishing of souls. A cleverly crafted line might imply that Lady Eleanor was devoting an excessive amount of her hours to her squire, all without uttering it directly. Ah, the allure of it all. Believable uncertainty. Should the aggrieved noble raise an objection, the bard would gracefully bow and reply, "Your Grace, it is but a song." These melodies rarely found their way to paper, existed in the spoken word, flowing from one voice to another, transforming with each rendition. What began as a heartfelt expression of love in one realm could transform into sharp wit and critique by the time it arrived in another. In the grand tapestry of tales, where the noble duchess is celebrated, the bishop is playfully ridiculed, and the secrets of royalty are unveiled. The minstrels wove their melodies, skillfully navigating the realms of admiration and indignation. In the court, a witty line could wield more power than a blade. In the grand halls of the medieval court, entertainment served a purpose far beyond mere distraction. It was a carefully orchestrated exhibition of might, affluence, and refinement. And no royal gathering was ever truly whole without the minstrels, who spun melodies into the air, each note, breath, and verse, crafting a tapestry of sound. The grand feast served as their main arena. Picture this, a magnificent hall adorned, with vibrant banners, flickering torches casting shadows on ancient stone walls, nobles lounging on plush benches, their goblets overflowing, their tempers soaring above the lofty beams. And then amidst the murmurs, a lute begins to strum, its notes weaving through the air. A voice trails behind. Silence falls over the banquet. The true tale unfolds. Minstrels had a remarkable talent for captivating an audience. Their arrangements were anything but haphazard. They danced to the cadence of the twilight, a cheerful tune to begin, elevate moods, and soothe anxieties. Then a captivating narrative of conflict, allegiance, or treachery, striking enough to seize the attention of all, yet light-hearted enough to ensure the baron doesn't choke on his pheasant. As the evening drew to a close, a couple of cheeky melodies filled the air, daring enough to elicit a rosy hue on the cheeks of the duchesses. As they discreetly hid behind their fans, they found themselves in the company of others as well. In the vibrant tapestry of entertainment, old minstrels would weave their melodies alongside the dazzling feats of jugglers, the graceful movements of acrobats, and the captivating displays of trained animals. A splendid banquet could showcase a harpist's enchanting melody, succeeded by a playful monkey performing delightful cartwheels. That was the essence of variety programming in the 12th century. Within the grand halls of royalty, music served a purpose beyond mere entertainment. A subtle ambience of political sentiment, welcoming a distinguished guest of noble lineage. Let the melody rise, celebrating the remarkable feats of their kin. Seeking a way to divert attention from increasing taxes, summon a wandering minstrel with a sensational new ballad. Did the king possess a temper that was perilously brief? Gather round for a gentle tale of steadfast devotion, bravery, and the choice to spare lives on this fine day. Entertainment during the feast served a dual purpose, weaving together enjoyment and persuasion. Balladeers wove tales of the king's triumphs on the battlefield, artfully adorned with embellishments, while the defeats were deftly brushed aside. Melodies served as a gentle reminder to the noble class of their responsibilities, their dignity, and their rightful position beneath the polished boot of the sovereign. For the audience, this was an experience that transcended mere enjoyment. It was a vibrant tapestry of social interaction. One must tread carefully when the laughter erupts too loudly at a cleverly crafted satirical verse, for it may lead to unforeseen consequences. Neglecting to show appreciation for a melody that honors the queen? There's an air of doubt lingering in the atmosphere. Understanding when to nod, chuckle, or sigh was an essential aspect of refined manners. Minstrels danced upon a slender line. They captivated their audience not only for entertainment, but also to inspire change. And the setting for their tale was more than merely a hall. It was a labyrinth of pride, hidden truths, and cunning plans, and they wove it like a tale. While most history books proclaim the tales of knights and kings, the women who wove the melodies of the medieval court often sang softly, their voices quiet yet poetic, leaving an indelible mark on the tapestry of time. Though excluded from numerous formal roles, certain women skillfully navigated the courtly soundscape, transforming melody into a quiet yet profound influence. Behold the troubadours, the enchanting female counterparts to the renowned troubadours of southern France. These women were not just figures in the shadows or voices in the chorus. They were creators of words and melodies, each a master in their own domain, weaving together verses that boldly confronted the norms of gender and societal expectations. Their melodies wove tales of love, yet they unfolded through the eyes of the woman, a deep yearning, a fiery rage, a steadfast defiance, a surge of strength. It was a tale of courtly love, yet it bore a sharp edge, a twist that kept the heart in suspense. In the melodies of the troubadours, one might hear tales of a lover who faltered in his promises, or the heavy chains that bind women through the bonds of marriage and societal expectations. Their lyrics unveiled a unique perspective on the inner worlds of medieval noblewomen, lives usually concealed behind the rich tapestries and strict codes of conduct. In the grand tapestry of history, there existed noble women who graciously opened their halls to the minstrels, offering them a stage to weave their enchanting tales. In the grand tapestry of history, the queens and noble ladies of the court took on the role of patrons, weaving their influence into the fabric of art and culture. They commissioned exquisite works to honor the joyous occasions of weddings, births, and alliances, or simply to reflect the grandeur of their own aspirations. In intimate salons and the chambers of ladies, some took up the harp or psaltery, weaving melodies that served as both a source of entertainment and a heartfelt release. Women have long been woven into the fabric of songs, portrayed in ways that celebrate, romanticize, and critique their essence. Yet, in this realm, certain bards dared to transcend limits. They crafted lively verses from the viewpoints of women, sharp ballads poking fun at jealous husbands, and heartfelt odes to widows who chose not to take another husband. These were not mere performances. They were subtle acts of defiance. Beyond the grand halls of nobility, in the lively realm of wandering minstrels and vibrant street performers, women frequently became part of the ensemble as singers, dancers, or witty companions. They possessed a daring spirit, an undeniable charm, and frequently found themselves undervalued. Yet their presence was vital, particularly during festivals and fairs, where their voices wove layers of intrigue and excitement into the performance. Naturally, the church was far from pleased. Women who took to the stage were frequently cast in a shadow of immorality or peril, often finding themselves excluded from sacred realms or dismissed as mere seductresses. Yet despite everything, their voices rose in song, for it was through music that they found their voice. A beacon in a world that had silenced them, and though many of their names have faded into the shadows, their songs, fragmented and haunting, resonate still, like ethereal harps strumming softly behind ancient stone walls. Not every bard found themselves plucking strings under a grand chandelier, or receiving golden coins from a duke with a penchant for wine. Many traversed the roads, drifting from town to town, castle to castle, and market to marketplace, in quest of an audience, a place to rest, and ideally, a meal that was not still alive. These wandering performers were the very essence of the musical tapestry woven throughout medieval times. In contrast to those who basked in the favor of the court, they wandered without a constant benefactor, devoid of lavish feasts to attend, and faced an uncertain future. They thrived through their cunning, cleverness, and an astute grasp of the minds of the masses. In a village that cherished tragic ballads, your voice wove tales of sorrow. Should they lean towards humor involving flatulent monks, you would endure the stench and deliver the tales they craved. They carried with them a collection of portable instruments, small harps, fiddles, tambourines, and hand flutes. Some journeyed alongside creatures of wonder, bears that twirled with grace, dogs adorned in charming hats, and monkeys skilled in the art of mischief, deftly snatching purses from unsuspecting hands. Some took on the roles of healers, tricksters, or messengers. Many found their rest in barns, inns, or beneath the vast expanse of the night sky. Shielded solely by the acclaim of their latest melody, these minstrels were more than mere entertainers. In their time, they were the pulse of connection and communication. They brought tales from far-off realms, accounts of battles, melodies from foreign halls, and whispers that could topple a noble. A crafty traveler with a lute could capture attention with a new melody and stir unease in the grand chambers, if the verses whispered of truths too familiar. Though they may appear modest, a great many of these artists possessed remarkable talents. Once, there were those who had honed their skills within the grand halls of the court, only to find themselves cast aside, their fortunes turned. Some ventured forth, gathering experiences, embracing diverse styles, languages, and melodies from every corner of the land. They were masters of transformation, seamlessly blending dialects and instruments as if donning different personas with each performance. Their listeners varied from humble villagers huddled around a flickering festival flame to lesser nobles. Throwing spontaneous banquets, at times they were greeted with open arms. At times, particularly when their melodies turned to fiery, they found themselves chased from the town, bearing more bruises than coins. Yet their journey continued. For countless bards, the journey was not merely a requirement. It was liberation. Unbound by loyalty, there are no nobles to praise or deceive. Only the rhythm of melodies, the dance of life, and the unwavering belief that the next destination could offer a grander platform, a heavier coin purse, or at the very least, a bed that was kinder. They were more than mere entertainers. They were the bearers of tales, guardians of recollections, and navigators of the human spirit. As the medieval era gracefully transitioned into the Renaissance, the realm of the minstrel began to wane, yet it never truly vanished. The courts became increasingly sophisticated. Instead of weaving tales from memory, composers crafted sheet music. Skilled artists took the place of roaming minstrels. Yet, what of the enduring tale of the minstrels? It lingered like a tune that echoes in your mind, impossible to shake off. In countless ways, the minstrels forged the path for the contemporary artist. They grasped the essence of cadence, captivated their listeners, and wove tales with finesse. They transformed whispers into lyrical tales, sorrow into melodic expressions, and the realm of politics into sharp, artful critiques. Their art breathed with life, a harmonious blend of melody, reflection on society, and the essence of resilience. Their impact was profound. The echoes of the troubadour tradition resonated through the enchanting melodies of Renaissance madrigals. Melodies of the people woven through the voices of the humble, transformed into cherished verses on the page. Themes of courtly love, noble sacrifice, and cheeky rebellion weave their way through the verses of poets such as Chaucer and Shakespeare. Even the early operas of Italy, with their soaring melodies, dramatic flair, and overflowing passion, drew inspiration from those dusty, medieval performances held in the chilly expanse of great halls, as the courts grew more exclusive in music. Took on a more formalized structure, the essence of the minstrel found new avenues to flourish. Into the heart of the town, where stories unfold, embarking on a journey through the world of traveling theater, within the cozy embrace of taverns, where fiddlers strummed melodies that echoed through the ages, older than the very stones that sheltered them, into the souls of those who continued. Two weave tales through the melody of sound. Today, we continue to witness their lingering presence, street performers captivating the audience with their juggling, singing, and playful banter that embodies the essence of jongleur. Musicians pouring their hearts out through the strings of a guitar, minstrels clad in contemporary attire, a whimsical take on politics through verse. The bards would surely take great pride. Even the realms of fantasy literature and film, where castles rise majestically, knights embark on noble quests, and the gentle strumming of a lute fills the air. Oh, a profound debt to these enchanting figures. They weave the fabric of medieval dreams, binding tales of valor and laughter, love and folly, and through the passage of countless years, one truth endures. Melody remains a timeless desire for many. We continue to come together, to absorb, to experience, to discover our identities. Whether through a curated playlist or the enchanting sounds of a harp illuminated by flickering flames. The bards may have faded, their tales drifting like leaves in the breeze, yet what remains of their tale continues to weave its melody in every performance that seeks to captivate, inspire, or challenge. A medieval minstrel stands quietly in the shadows, a knowing smile upon their lips.